My child, be still right now and hear me, because what I am about to say is not gentle, and it is not optional. This is your wake-up call, and I am speaking directly to the depths of your spirit. I'm warning you, this is far from a joke. You have stepped into a season where deception is subtle, danger is disguised, and your soul is being pulled in directions you cannot afford to ignore. Listen closely, for every word that follows is meant to shake you awake, expose what you've overlooked, and draw you back into the safety of my truth before it's too late. Listen to me now, really listen, because what I am about to say is not a passing thought, not a soft suggestion you can ignore and come back to later. You have pushed aside so many things, postponed so many decisions, but this is not one of them. I am speaking to you in this moment because I have set my eyes on you, and I will not pretend that your life, your soul, your future are casual things. You have felt it already, the tug inside, that strange weight in your chest, that quiet sense that something is shifting, something is coming closer. That is me. I am not far away looking at you from a distance. I am near, closer than your breath, and I am calling you by name. You may think you are just reading words, but I am using these words to reach into places within you that no one else has ever fully seen. You need to understand this. I do not speak without purpose. When I draw near with warnings, it is not because I delight in alarming you, but because I see what you do not see. I see where the road under your feet leads if you keep walking the way you are. I see the compromises you call small, the distractions you call normal, the numbness you call fine. You have grown used to living in a fog, telling yourself you are managing, telling yourself you are okay, but deep down you know something is off. You wake up tired in ways that sleep cannot fix. You feel full of noise and yet empty inside. You say you trust me, yet your heart keeps wandering to lesser things for comfort. I'm not accusing you, I'm awakening you. You have heard me before. You know. In the quiet moments where you suddenly felt the urge to pray and then pushed it away. In the uneasy feeling that came when you stepped into places you knew were not good for your soul, yet stayed anyway. In the gentle conviction that came over you when you opened your mouth and said words that did not match the person you longed to be. Those were not random feelings, not just mood swings. Those were me, knocking on the door of your heart, asking, will you listen this time? And so often, you turned up the volume of your life, drowning me out with entertainment, with work, with conversations, with scrolling, with anything that would keep you from facing what I was trying to show you. But now I am pressing in closer, and I am saying to you with holy seriousness, this is not a joke. This is not a game. This is not a drill. Your life is not a rehearsal you can redo endlessly. Your days are numbered, not to scare you, but to remind you that they are precious. You have assignments you have not yet walked in, people you are meant to love more deeply, prayers you are meant to pray, chains you are meant to break, generations you are meant to impact. And the path you choose in moments like this either draws you nearer to that purpose or carries you farther from it. That is why I call you to listen. Not with the kind of listening that nods and moves on, but with the kind that says, I am ready to hear whatever you have to say, even if it pierces me, even if it changes me. I know the secrets you carry that you have never voiced to anyone. I know the shame that whispers, if anyone really knew you, they would walk away. I know the fears that sit at the edges of your mind at night. Fear of failing, fear of losing control, fear of being alone, fear that maybe you have already missed your chance to become who you were meant to be. Hear me. I am not here to shame you or condemn you. I am here to wake you. The seriousness of my tone comes from the depth of my love. When I call you to listen, because this is no light matter, it is because you are no light matter to me. You are weighty, valuable, eternal. And the choices you make with me, or without me, echo far beyond the moment you make them. So, in this very moment, I lean close to your heart and ask you to pause. Interrupt your own thoughts. Set aside your defenses. Lay down your rehearsed excuses. Stop telling yourself that you will change one day and recognize that I am drawing a holy circle around now. I am here, speaking as if there is no one else in the universe but you and me, because I want you to know how deeply personal this is. I am calling you to listen, not to frighten you, but to protect you, to realign you, to begin a work in you that you cannot even imagine yet. And as you keep listening, I will unfold more, layer by layer, showing you why I have come to speak with such urgency to your heart. Hear me now with all the gravity your spirit can hold, because this is not merely a continuation of what I have said. It is an unveiling of something you have sensed but refused to name. You have treated the stirrings of your conscience, the gentle checks in your heart, the sudden hesitations I placed inside you, as if they were small interruptions instead of sacred warnings. You brushed them off like dust from your clothing, not realizing they were messages from me. Signs, signals, interventions designed to redirect your steps before they carried you into deeper trouble. You felt those warnings in moments when you were about to say something destructive, when you were drifting toward old temptations, when you were choosing convenience over conviction, when you were planning to walk into environments your spirit was not built to handle. And yet, instead of pausing, instead of asking, "Lord, is this you?" you shrugged it off and kept moving, as though nothing eternal was at stake. You normalized the very hesitations that were meant to save you. There were nights when you lay awake sensing something was off, not fear, not anxiety, but a spiritual ache, a nudge in the quiet urging you to reconsider, to pray, to turn back, to slow down. But the comfort of routine swallowed the urgency of that moment, and you convinced yourself it was just fatigue or stress. You did not see that I was trying to rescue your path before consequences grew roots. And yes, there were times when you outright knew the choice you were making wasn't aligned with the truth you carried deep inside, but you covered that awareness with excuses. Just this once. It's not a big deal. Everyone does it. I'll make it right later. But warnings unheeded harden into patterns, and patterns ignored become chains. And I love you far too much to let you remain bound by what you were created to conquer. Yet understand this. I speak not to condemn you, but to awaken you to the reality that your spirit has been drifting while your mind has been distracted. You have allowed the familiar to silence the divine. You have treated my convictions like background noise instead of the voice of the one who guards your soul. I am confronting you now not to shame you, but to deliver you from the slow erosion of your inner life. You have been living on the edge of compromise without realizing how thin that edge really is. And now I am drawing you back, calling you to tune your ears again to the warnings you once recognized so clearly. For these warnings are not signs of distance, they are signs of my nearness. They are not proof of disappointment, they are proof of my protection. And as you continue with me, I will show you how every warning you once dismissed is being reclaimed, redeemed, and reshaped into wisdom for the road ahead. Let me speak plainly to you with the force of truth you have long needed but often avoided. I am confronting the distractions that have been pulling you away from me, not because I am offended by them, but because they are robbing you, slowly, quietly, strategically, of the peace, clarity, strength, and spiritual fire that I designed you to carry. You do not realize how fragmented your heart has become, how many pieces of yourself you have handed over to screens, conversations, burdens, expectations, and appetites that cannot sustain you. You keep saying you are tired, overwhelmed, unmotivated, disconnected, but you have not traced the source of that weariness back to the distractions draining your spirit. They come disguised as harmless, ordinary, commonplace, but they pull at you like unseen cords, tugging your attention away from what nourishes your soul and toward what leaves you emptier than before. You have noticed it, the difficulty of quieting your mind, the struggle to pray without drifting, the challenge of reading truth without losing focus, the battle to stay grounded in moments that should have anchored you. These are not random struggles. They are symptoms. They reveal that the noise around you has grown louder than the voice within you. Distractions are not always sinful. Many are simply misaligned, taking more from you than they give. They promise to soothe you but leave you restless. They promise to entertain you but leave you numb. They promise to occupy your time but steal your purpose in the process. And because they come in subtle forms, habits, routines, comforts, you rarely notice how much sway they have over your heart. So hear me. I am placing my hand on these distractions now, one by one, and confronting them not with anger, but with authority. I am calling you back from the constant pull of busyness, the lure of comparison, the weight of responsibilities that were never yours, the endless intake of noise that fills your head but empties your spirit. I am reminding you that your soul needs stillness, clarity, focus, and depth, things you cannot receive when you are scattered across 1,000 lesser pursuits. And though you may feel a tension inside you as I pull you away from these distractions, the tension is holy. It is the sound of chains loosening. It is the evidence of awakening. It is the mark of my love refusing to let you drift any further. I confront these distractions because I want you whole again. Whole in mind, whole in heart, whole in purpose. I want you to reclaim the parts of yourself you didn't realize you lost. I want you to recognize the difference between what feeds you and what drains you. And as you allow me to strip away what pulls you from my presence, you will begin to feel something you thought you lost forever. The steady, grounded, unshakable clarity of a heart fully aligned with me. This is why I confront distractions, not to take from you, but to give you back what has always been yours. Pay close attention now, because what you have been calling coincidences are actually divine markers, signs arranged around your life with intentional precision, pointing you toward truth you've been too distracted or too weary to acknowledge. You have noticed patterns repeating, doors closing unexpectedly, conversations aligning perfectly with thoughts you kept hidden, moments of conviction intensifying, emotions rising without explanation, encounters that feel strangely timed. These are not random events. They are orchestrations. They are my fingerprints pressed gently yet unmistakably onto the fabric of your days. I have been speaking to you through circumstances, through restlessness, through interruptions, through blessings you did not expect and losses you did not anticipate. You have said, "This is strange," or "What are the odds?" without realizing that the odds are not involved at all. I am. Every sign carries intention. The heaviness you feel is not depression. It is spiritual awareness awakening. The discomfort you sense is not instability. It is misalignment being revealed. The sudden clarity that comes and goes is not imagination. It is my light breaking through the fog surrounding your decisions. The unexpected delays in your plans are not setbacks. They are shields, protecting you from outcomes you are not yet strong enough to see. Even the inner battles you have felt lately, the ones you hoped would fade but instead intensified, are signs showing you that your spirit is waking up, signs reminding you that you cannot keep ignoring what I have been trying to show you. You have been living as though these signs are vague hints or emotional fluctuations, but I need you to understand, they are invitations. I place them in your path not to confuse you, but to guide you. I do not repeat myself out of impatience. I repeat myself out of love, because I know your heart hath been scattered and your mind overloaded. You have missed some signs because you were distracted, misunderstood others because fear clouded your vision, and resisted a few because you knew they required change, real change. And change often feels like loss before it becomes freedom. But make no mistake, my signs are intentional pathways, not random accidents. And now, in this moment, I am telling you directly, the stirring in your spirit, the sense that something is shifting, the uneasiness with things that once felt normal, the unexpected hunger for more, the quiet pull toward a different way of living. All of it is me arranging signs so you never have to guess whether I am speaking. I am removing the guesswork. I am taking away the ambiguity. I am clarifying your vision so you can see that every sign, every nudge, every interruption has been leading you toward awakening, protection, alignment, and transformation. Nothing around you is accidental. Pay attention, for in these signs I am showing you both where you are and where I am calling you to go. Feel the weight of this truth. You have not imagined my pull. The tug you keep feeling inside you is real, persistent, intentional, and it has followed you through seasons, decisions, victories, and failures. You have felt it in moments when you tried to distract yourself, but the quiet kept returning. You felt it when you laughed with others yet sensed an invisible hand still calling your name. You felt it during times when you were overwhelmed and suddenly sensed a strange, gentle pull toward something deeper, something sacred, something that felt like home even though you couldn't explain why. This tug is not guilt, not pressure, not fear. It is desire. It is the desire of the one who shaped your soul, reaching inside the deepest parts of you where your pretenses cannot survive. You have felt my pull in ways you never confessed to anyone. In the middle of a drive, in the slow silence of a shower, in a moment of music that unexpectedly softened you, or during a passing thought that made you stop and look inward as if something invisible brushed against your spirit. And you know this. Even when you tried to ignore it, the tug returned. Even when you drowned yourself in noise, it persisted. Even when you convinced yourself you were too busy, too broken, too inconsistent, the pull did not go away. It came as a quiet ache, as longing, as conviction, as peace, as discomfort, not always pleasant but always purposeful. It showed up when you were strong, to anchor you. It showed up when you were weak, to steady you. It showed up when you were drifting, to draw you back before you wandered too far. The tug was not something you initiated. It was something I initiated. A reminder that no matter how far you wander, no matter how much you hide, no matter how complicated your inner world becomes, I know how to find you. But listen. This tug is becoming stronger now because the season you are stepping into cannot be approached casually or half-heartedly. I am pulling you deeper because shallow waters are no longer enough for the weight of what is coming in your life. I am pulling you because I know the plans forming around you. I know the blessings preparing to unfold. I know the battles you must overcome. I know the healing waiting for your surrender. I know the alignment your soul has been craving even when your desires have been confused. And though you may feel the tension between who you've been and who you're becoming, this tug is not to torment you, it is to guide you. It is the tug that reminds you that you belong to something larger, holier, truer than the life you have settled for. So yes, you have felt my presence tugging on your heart, not weakly, not vaguely, but persistently, personally, intimately. And as you continue listening, the tug will not just draw you. It will transform you, reshape you, awaken you, and lead you into the life your soul has been whispering about when no one else was listening. Let me speak this truth with the clarity you've been avoiding. You already know the direction you've been moving is not sustainable, not healthy, not aligned with the depths of who you truly are. You have been living at a pace that drains you more than it fulfills you, carrying responsibilities that press harder than they bless, and maintaining habits that do not nurture your spirit but quietly weaken it. You've been telling yourself that it's just for now, that things will slow down eventually, that this season will pass, but deep down, beneath the rehearsed excuses and the practiced resilience, you know something is not right. You feel yourself stretching thinner emotionally, spiritually, physically. You feel the pressure in your chest that whispers, "I can't keep living like this." But you dismiss it because you fear stopping, fear slowing down, fear changing the patterns that have become familiar even if they are hurting you. You have sensed the cost of your current direction, the empty fatigue that sleep cannot cure, the spiritual dryness that prayer once healed but now you rarely make time for, the emotional heaviness that settles on you without warning, the lack of joy in things that once brought you life. These are not surface issues. They are signs of imbalance, signs that something inside you is collapsing under the weight of what you continually put on yourself. And though you try to reassure others that you're fine, the truth is you've been functioning on survival mode far longer than you admit. You've been pouring from a well that hasn't been replenished, giving energy you don't have, ignoring alarms in your soul because you've convinced yourself that slowing down means falling behind. I am telling you this with compassion, not condemnation. You cannot live this way and expect peace. You cannot keep giving so much to the world while giving so little to your soul. You cannot outrun the exhaustion you refuse to confront. And the direction you've been moving, the pace, the compromises, the emotional strain, the spiritual neglect, is leading you toward a breaking point you weren't meant to reach. I do not want you breaking, I want you restored. I do not want you burning out. I want you burning bright. I do not want you collapsing under pressures that were never yours. I want you standing in strength that comes from alignment, clarity, and truth. This is why I am stopping you now, not to punish you but to protect you. You know your life cannot continue on this trajectory. You feel the truth of that in your bones. And I am inviting you, urgently, lovingly, undeniably, to turn, to shift, to realign, to let go of what drains and embrace what heals. The direction you've been moving is unsustainable, but the direction I am calling you toward will not only sustain you, it will revive you. Listen carefully, because this truth matters more than you realize. This warning, every word, every pull, every sign, every correction, comes from love, not anger. You have spent too much of your life believing that my warnings are expressions of disappointment or frustration, as if I come to you in irritation rather than affection. But hear me clearly, my warnings are evidence of my closeness, not my distance. They show that I am paying attention, that I am invested in your steps, that I refuse to watch you drift into harm without intervening. Anger pushes away, but love reaches in, and what I am doing right now is reaching into the parts of you that have been ignored, wounded, numbed, or overburdened. I am not here to scold you. I am here to rescue you. Think about the moments in your life when you needed guidance the most. Not the easy moments, but the vulnerable ones. The times when you were lost but acted confident. The times when you were hurting but pretended to be strong. The times when you were drifting but convinced yourself you were in control. In those moments, the warnings you felt were not punishments. They were lifelines. And though you misunderstood them, feared them, or even resented them, they were rooted in a love so deep you struggled to believe it could be true. I corrected you because I care. I confronted you because I protect. I challenged you because I see greatness in you that you've forgotten. I warned you because I know paths you cannot see and dangers you cannot sense. Love is not silent when you are heading toward harm. Love speaks, interrupts, redirects. Love does not stand still while you crumble under unnecessary burdens. Love intervenes. Love does not let you settle for a life beneath your calling. Love pulls you upward even when you resist. That is why this warning feels heavy, because it carries the full weight of my love. A love that refuses to let you self-destruct, settle, or shrink. You may hear intensity in my words, but intensity is not hostility. It is urgency. I am urgent because I see what's at stake for you. I am urgent because something in you is awakening, and I do not want you to silence it. I am urgent because you have cried in secret, asked for direction, begged for clarity, even if you never said the words aloud. And I am answering those hidden prayers now, through warning, through conviction, through clarity that pierces deeper than comfort. So understand this. This warning is love. Fierce love. Protective love. Transforming love. Love that refuses to lose you. Love that refuses to let you wander blind. Love that sees you, knows you, cherishes you. And as we continue, every word that follows comes from that same love, a love determined to bring you into the fullness you were created for. You need to feel the gravity of this moment. You are standing at a crossroad that will not wait for your convenience, and you know it. Something inside you has been sensing this shift long before you admitted it, that quiet pressure in your chest, that restlessness you can't shake, that subtle ache that tells you the path you've been walking cannot carry you into the future I'm calling you toward. You may think this crossroad appeared suddenly, but it has been forming through every choice, every hesitation, every conviction you felt but pushed aside. A crossroad is never just about direction. It is about destiny. It is about who you are becoming and who you refuse to be any longer. And you feel this deeply, uncomfortably, unavoidably, because this crossroad demands a decision, and the decision demands courage. You have reached a place where continuing as you are is no longer an option. You cannot keep feeding your spirit with leftovers and expect to walk in strength. You cannot keep offering me fragments of yourself and wonder why you feel unanchored. You cannot keep running from the healing I'm trying to give you while hoping the pain will somehow disappear on its own. And you cannot keep pretending that this moment isn't sacred, because everything around you, the signs, the convictions, the emotional shifts, the heightened awareness, has been pointing here. This moment, this turning point, this holy pause where heaven waits to see what you will choose. But hear me. I am not pressuring you out of fear. I am inviting you out of love. I am showing you the crossroad not to overwhelm you, but to awaken you to the freedom you've been longing for in silence. The path behind you is filled with what you've survived, what you've learned, and what you've outgrown. The path beside you is full of distractions pulling you toward familiar comfort but empty results. And the path before you, the one your spirit keeps leaning toward even when your fear resists, is the path of transformation. It is narrower, yes. It requires surrender, yes. It involves shedding habits and mindsets that have become your hiding places, yes. But it is also the path where you finally become the person your heart has been whispering you were meant to be. Do not tell yourself you're not ready, you are. Do not wait for a perfect moment. This is it. Do not convince yourself that you have more time. Time is a gift, not a guarantee. You are standing at a crossroad that cannot be ignored because I refuse to let you drift into mediocrity. I refuse to watch you settle for less. I refuse to let the potential inside you wither from neglect. And so, I stand with you here, not as an observer, but as a guide, urging you to choose the path that leads to life, strength, clarity, and purpose. This is your moment. This is your turning point. And I am right here, waiting for your yes. Let me speak into what you've been sensing but trying to downplay. Your spirit has been growing dull, and you feel it. Not in a dramatic way, not in a sudden collapse, but in slow, subtle ways that you keep brushing aside. You've noticed the lack of fire, that inner spark you once felt so naturally. You've noticed how prayer feels harder, how focus slips away faster, how worship feels quieter inside you than it used to. You've noticed that your convictions, which once felt sharp and clear, have softened around the edges, as if they've been rubbed down by the pressures and distractions of your life. And though you keep telling yourself it's just stress, or exhaustion, or a busy season, you know it goes deeper. You can feel the dullness inside you, the heaviness, the fog, the tiredness of a soul that has gone too long without real nourishment. But hear me, this dullness is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of neglect. And neglect can be reversed. Your spirit has not died, it has only dimmed. And though you've tried to push through it with willpower, distraction, or busyness, you have not given your spirit what it truly needs, the stillness that awakens it, the truth that sharpens it, the presence that restores it. You cannot expect clarity while living on emptiness. You cannot expect passion without feeding your inner being. You cannot expect strength while starving the very part of you that holds your purpose. This dullness has shown itself in your decisions too. You've been tolerating things that once troubled you. You've been settling for things you once resisted. You've been drifting toward old patterns you thought you overcame. Not because you are weak, but because you are spiritually undernourished. And here is the truth you've been resisting. Your spirit is not meant to survive on fragments of attention or occasional moments of reflection. Your spirit was made to thrive in consistent connection, in presence, in truth, in stillness, in depth. The dullness you feel is a warning, not of doom, but of distance. Distance from the practices that sharpen you. Distance from the presence that renews you. Distance from the truth that strengthens you. And I am calling you now, firmly, lovingly, urgently, to stop ignoring the ache inside you. This is not a random feeling. It is not a coincidence. It is not just how life is. This is your spirit crying out for renewal. This is the part of you I breathed into existence, reminding you that you were made for more than survival, more than distraction, more than emotional exhaustion. If your spirit hath grown dull, it is only because it is waiting to be reignited. And I am here, in this very moment, ready to fan the flame again, if you will let me. You need to hear this with eyes wide open. The enemy has been working quietly around you, not with obvious attacks that you can easily recognize, but with subtle influences, small compromises, and gentle nudges that seem harmless on the surface. The enemy is rarely loud. He is strategic. He whispers where I speak. He distracts where I guide. He numbs where I awaken. And you have felt this, even if you didn't see it clearly. You have noticed the increase in temptations that align perfectly with your weakest moments. You have noticed the rise in thoughts that criticize you, diminish you, or isolate you. You have noticed the subtle pull toward old habits, old comforts, old wounds that keep you from moving forward. None of this is accidental. The enemy does not need to strike dramatically when he can wear you down quietly. He doesn't need to destroy you with a storm when he can weaken you with slow erosion. He doesn't need to push you into rebellion when he can lull you into spiritual sleep. And that is what he has been trying to do, to make you spiritually sleepy, emotionally dull, mentally scattered, and disconnected from the truth that keeps you strong. He knows he can't take you out if you stay close to me, so he works to keep you distracted, depleted, inconsistent, unfocused. A wide warfare. Silent sabotage. But hear me clearly. I am exposing this not to frighten you, but to empower you. The enemy only succeeds where there is blindness, and I am giving you sight. He only thrives where there is silence, and I am giving you discernment. He only influences where there is neglect, and I am calling you back into alignment. You do not need to fear him. You do not need to obsess over him. You simply need to awaken to the reality that not every thought is yours. Not every desire is pure. Not every opportunity is divine. And not every feeling is truth. The enemy has been working quietly around you, but I am working loudly within you. And my voice will always overpower his whisper when you choose to listen. Wake up now, because whether you realize it or not, you have been walking through life half awake, functioning, moving, surviving, but not fully alive in the way I designed you to be. You've been going through motions that look productive externally but leave you numb internally. You've been doing enough to get by but not enough to thrive. You've been living in cycles instead of stepping into purpose. And I tell you this not to shame you but to shake you, because I will not allow you to sleepwalk through your destiny. You have too much inside you that has yet to be lived out, too much purpose that has yet to be awakened, too much calling that has been sitting dormant beneath layers of distraction, disappointment, and delay. You keep saying you're waiting on a sign, but what you're really waiting for is the courage to stop settling for the version of life that keeps you comfortable but unfulfilled. You have felt it, that sensation like there's more to your life than what you are currently experiencing, that quiet stirring that whispers you were made for something greater than routine and repetition. That's not restlessness, that's awakening. That's my spirit inside you pushing against the confinement of a life that has become too small for who you are meant to become. You've accepted a level of spiritual numbness that your soul is no longer willing to tolerate. You've grown accustomed to cycles that steal your energy and strip your passion, but those cycles are breaking because I refuse to let you continue drifting. I won't let you live your life on autopilot, repeating the same habits, replaying the same wounds, recycling the same excuses. Not when I have written purpose in your DNA. Not when I have placed gifts in you the world has not yet seen. Not when your destiny is crying out for your attention. Understand this. Destiny requires engagement, not passivity. It requires intention, not avoidance. It requires spiritual alertness, not emotional sleep. I am calling you to rise from the fog you've been walking in, the confusion, the exhaustion, the emotional heaviness, the mental looping, because these things have dulled your awareness and weakened your sense of direction. And though you've tried to shake the heaviness through distraction or willpower, the awakening you need is spiritual, not external. That is why I speak with urgency now. I will not let you waste the life I gave you by living beneath your calling. I will not let you drift into mediocrity when greatness is woven into your identity. I will not let you walk numb when you were made to walk in power. I will not allow you to sleepwalk through a destiny that cost heaven everything to prepare. This is your moment to wake up, not with fear, but with fire. Not with anxiety, but with clarity. I am shaking you awake because you are needed, chosen, purposed, and called. And the world cannot afford for you to remain asleep when I designed you to carry light into places where darkness has long ruled. Listen closely, because what is happening around you and within you is not random. It is revelation. I am pulling back the curtain on things you could not see before, things that were hidden from you not because I was withholding clarity, but because you weren't ready to handle the truth that clarity would bring. You've been praying for answers, asking for direction, searching for meaning, wondering why certain things felt confusing or heavy or inconsistent. And now, I am opening your eyes. You are beginning to see the truth behind situations that once misled you, the motives behind relationships that once charmed you, the spiritual pressures behind emotional battles that once overwhelmed you. This unveiling may feel uncomfortable at times because truth often disrupts illusions that you've leaned on for too long. But what I reveal to protect you, empower you, and prepare you. There were people you trusted because their words sounded comforting, but their influence was draining you. There were habits you kept because they felt familiar, but they were quietly suffocating your spirit. There were environments you tolerated because they seemed harmless, but they were shaping your thinking away from the person you were becoming. You didn't see the full picture before, not because you were blind, but because you were focused on surviving. But you are not in survival mode anymore. I am transitioning you into discernment, and discernment requires sight. So I am lifting the veil, exposing what needed exposure, and revealing what you must understand for the road ahead. This unveiling will affect your relationships, your decisions, your priorities, your desires. You will begin to recognize red flags you once ignored. You will see spiritual patterns you once overlooked. You will feel discomfort in places you were once at ease, not because something new is wrong, but because your eyes are finally open. You will begin sensing things in people, intentions, spiritual climates, emotional burdens that you couldn't sense before. And though this new clarity may feel overwhelming at moments, it is a sign that you are stepping into maturity. You are not losing your mind, you are gaining vision. I am pulling back the curtain because the season ahead requires wisdom, not naivety. It requires depth, not complacency. It requires strength, not softness toward unhealthy attachments. You cannot walk into destiny blindfolded. You cannot fulfill purpose while tolerating deception. You cannot become who you are meant to be while clinging to illusions meant to keep you stagnant. So I reveal these things not to frighten you but to free you. I am awakening your sight, sharpening your spirit, and preparing you to walk forward with eyes wide open, unafraid of the truth I show you. Let me tell you something your spirit has known for a long time. Surface-level faith is no longer enough for the life you are stepping into. You've tried to maintain a faith that fits conveniently around your schedule, your comfort, your preferences, but that kind of faith cannot sustain you through the spiritual depth I am calling you into. Surface faith survives only on inspiration and emotion, and both fade quickly. Surface faith gets shaken easily. Surface faith bends under pressure. Surface faith looks strong until the storm arrives. And you have already felt the truth of this. Life has been demanding more from you spiritually than what surface-level faith can offer. That's why you've been feeling stretched, hungry, unsettled. Your spirit is craving depth, and depth requires more than occasional moments of devotion or half-hearted attempts at connection. You have sensed the shallowness, the way you struggle to press in, the way distractions steal your focus, the way your heart drifts so easily. You felt the discomfort of knowing that what you currently call faith is not strong enough to carry you through the challenges, responsibilities, and spiritual battles ahead. Not because you are weak, but because you were made for a deeper connection than what you've been operating in. Your spirit has been whispering to you, there is more. You need more. You were created for more, and that whisper is not condemnation, it is invitation. Surface-level faith avoids discomfort, deep faith confronts it. Surface-level faith thrives in convenience, deep faith thrives in surrender. Surface-level faith depends on what you feel, deep faith depends on who I am. And I am calling you into the deeper faith now, not because I require it for my sake, but because you require it for yours. The future I'm leading you into demands of faith that can withstand pressure, resist temptation, silence fear, discern truth, and rise above emotional storms. You cannot walk into spiritual maturity while standing ankle-deep in shallow waters. So yes, I am confronting your surface-level faith, not harshly, but lovingly. Because I want you anchored, not tossed around. I want you whole, not fractured. I want you empowered, not exhausted. I want you stable, not swayed by every shift in your circumstances. I want you alive, truly alive, in spirit, not merely aware of spiritual things from a distance. And though stepping into deeper faith may feel unfamiliar at first, it will become the place where you find strength you didn't know you had, clarity you didn't know was possible, and intimacy with me that you didn't know was available. I am calling you out of the shallow end, because you were never meant to stay there. You were made for depth. Feel the intensity of this truth. I am reaching for your whole heart, not the fragments you offer when it is convenient, not the pieces you feel comfortable surrendering, not the moments you give me when you have energy left over. I am asking for the part of you that you guard the most, the part you hide from others, the part you pretend doesn't hurt, the part you keep busy so you don't have to feel the deeper ache beneath the surface. You have been giving me enough of yourself to feel spiritual, but not enough to be transformed. You have been offering me your beliefs but holding back your wounds, giving me your worship but hiding your fears, showing me your intentions but shielding your insecurities. And though you tell yourself you are committed, you know there are rooms of your heart I haven't been allowed to enter, doors you keep locked because you're afraid of what might be exposed if you let me all the way in. But hear me, I do not ask for your whole heart to control you. I ask for your whole heart to heal you. You were not created to live divided within yourself. You were not designed to love me with part of your soul and cling to the world with the other. A divided heart creates inner storms, restlessness, confusion, emotional instability, and spiritual exhaustion. And you have been living like this, torn between desire and discipline, between passion and fear, between surrender and self-protection. Your soul has been stretched thin because you keep trying to live two lives at once, the life that honors me and the life that comforts your flesh. I am calling you to wholeness, because wholeness is where your power is. When I asked for your whole heart, I am not asking for perfection, I am asking for honesty. I want the real you, the you who struggles with trust, the you who worries quietly, the you who seeks connection yet fears vulnerability, the you who feels called higher but dragged lower by old habits, the you who longs for change but hesitates at the cost. Give me that heart, not the polished version you show others. Give me the raw, beating, trembling heart that has carried unspoken burdens for far too long. A half-surrendered heart cannot carry a whole destiny. A partial offering cannot sustain you when storms rise. A divided heart will always feel conflicted, confused, and exhausted. But when you give me all of you, your desires, your fears, your failures, your hopes, your secrets, I will fill spaces inside you that have felt empty for years. I will restore clarity where there has been fog, peace where there has been turmoil, strength where there has been weakness, and purpose where there has been wandering. I am not asking for your whole heart to take something from you. I am asking because I want to give something to you that can only be received through surrender. And you know this. Deep down, you are tired of living split. Let me expose what you've been feeling but haven't fully acknowledged. There are attachments in your life that have been quietly draining your strength, weakening your focus, and pulling your spirit in directions you were never meant to go. These attachments have wrapped themselves around your habits, your emotions, your routines, and even your identity. Some of them look harmless, some of them even look comforting, but they are costing you more than you realize. They steal your peace in small, unnoticeable increments. They dilute your clarity. They cloud your judgment. They keep your soul in a cycle of depletion because they take from you without giving anything meaningful in return. You have noticed this drain, the emotional fatigue that doesn't match your activities, the spiritual heaviness that lingers even when nothing is wrong, the lack of motivation that feels foreign to who you really are. These are signs of attachments that do not belong to you. These attachments might be unhealthy friendships, draining conversations, habits that numb instead of heal, patterns that comfort you for a moment but weaken you long term. emotional ties to people you were never meant to tether your soul to, or invisible agreements you made with lies you didn't realize you were believing. And though you've tried to ignore the discomfort they bring, your spirit recognizes the imbalance. You feel the slow leak inside you, not enough to break you instantly, but enough to wear you down over time. Hear me now. Not every attachment is a blessing, and not every connection is meant to stay. Some attachments feed your soul, others feed on it. Some strengthen your spirit, others siphon life from it. Some elevate you, others entangle you. And you know which ones I'm speaking about, because even as you read these words, the spirit inside you is highlighting the attachments that have overstayed their welcome. The ones that feel heavy, the ones that feel distracting, the ones that pull you backward, the ones that stir confusion rather than peace, the ones you've justified for too long because you didn't want to face the truth of what they were costing you. I am not exposing these attachments to shame you. I am exposing them because your destiny requires freedom. You cannot carry old entanglements into new seasons. You cannot walk with strength while dragging dead weight. You cannot rise while clinging to what keeps you low. And I love you too much to let you be drained by things that were never meant to have access to your heart in the first place. It's time to evaluate what you're connected to, because some connections feed your fire and some connections slowly extinguish it. The ones draining you must be released, not because they are evil, but because you cannot become who you are meant to be while being tethered to what weakens you. Hear this with a sobering honesty. You have ignored inner warnings I placed within you, and you know exactly what I'm referring to. Those quiet hesitations, those subtle checks in your spirit, those moments when something inside you tightened, pulled back, or whispered, "This isn't right." They weren't random. They weren't anxiety. They weren't fear. They were me. They were my protection wrapped in intuition, my guidance hidden inside your conscience, my voice speaking in a tone your spirit recognized even when your mind didn't want to. You felt these warnings rise within you in conversations you shouldn't have stayed in, decisions you shouldn't have entertained, relationships you shouldn't have trusted, habits you shouldn't have returned to, and environments your soul was not built to survive. And yet, out of convenience, curiosity, comfort, or fear of change, you pushed away the very voice that was trying to keep you safe. But understand this: your spirit has never been wrong when it sensed danger. You have felt the uneasiness. You have felt the tightness in your chest, the heaviness in your stomach, the sudden alertness in your mind. You have had moments where something inside you said, "Stop, leave, wait. Not this, not now, not them." And every time you ignored those warnings, you felt the consequences, not as punishment, but as proof that you stepped outside the covering I tried to give you. Every moment of regret, every emotional drain, every spiritual setback that came from ignoring your inner warnings was never meant to be your story. I whispered warnings to spare you from pain, not push you into it. And yet, here's the beauty of my mercy. Even when you ignored those warnings, I never abandoned you. I never stopped speaking. I never stopped pulling. I never stopped redirecting. I never let the consequences destroy you, even when they wounded you. Because my warnings were not expressions of anger. They were expressions of love. Love that sees further than you do. Love that knows the traps before you discern them. Love that knows the truth behind smiles, intentions, temptations, and opportunities that look good but lead nowhere. Love that doesn't wait for you to fall before intervening, but intervenes before your foot even reaches the edge. And now I am calling you to listen again, deeply, humbly, honestly. Those inner warnings are about to become clearer. The more you respond, the stronger your discernment will become. The more you heed my voice, the more peace you will feel. and you will begin to recognize that ignoring my warnings leads to confusion, but following them leads to life. I placed those warnings within you because your spirit was designed to hear me, and now it's time to listen. Listen carefully, because what I am doing in your life right now cuts deeper than convenience and reaches deeper than comfort. I am removing the illusions that have blinded you, the lies you unknowingly embraced, the false securities you depended on, and the distorted perceptions you built your decisions upon. For too long, you have been walking through life with a fog over your spirit, not because you are incapable of seeing truth, but because illusions wrap themselves so subtly around your thinking that you learned to call them normal. You trusted certain voices simply because they were familiar, even though they weakened your confidence. You stayed in certain patterns because they felt safe, even though they kept you small. You believed assumptions that were shaped by past wounds, not my truth. And without realizing it, these illusions shaped how you saw me, how you saw others, and how you saw yourself. But hear me, illusions always steal clarity. Illusions create confusion. Illusions keep you settling for less. Illusions make you comfortable with what actually harms you. And you have felt the effects of this. The internal conflicts you couldn't explain. The moments when something felt off but you couldn't name the cause. The persistent heaviness that followed decisions you thought would bring relief. These were signs that you were walking according to perceptions that did not come from me. Some illusions were birthed from trauma, others from disappointment, others from fear, others from culture, others from the voices of people who spoke from their wounds instead of wisdom. And though these illusions felt real, they were never true. So now, I am removing them, gently when possible, forcefully when necessary. I am showing you the reality behind the things you once glamorized. I am exposing the emptiness behind false promises. I am revealing the truth behind relationships you overvalued, and the deception behind desires you thought would satisfy you. This process may feel jarring, because illusions often feel like comfort. When truth enters, it can feel like loss, but it is actually liberation. I am turning on the light in rooms you kept dim so you wouldn't have to confront what was hiding in the shadows. I am breaking false identities you wore so long that you forgot who you truly are. I am stripping away expectations that were never yours to carry. And though part of you may resist this awakening because illusions are familiar, your spirit has been longing for truth. Pay attention now, because as I remove these illusions, you will begin to see with sharper vision. You will understand why certain paths never brought peace. You will recognize the lies that once manipulated your emotions. You will notice how certain environments shifted your mindset. And most importantly, you will rediscover who you are beneath everything the world tried to convince you to be. I remove illusions not to expose your weaknesses, but to reveal your strength, the strength you lost sight of while living behind false layers. And as this veil lifts, you will not feel lost. You will feel found. Hear me with the softness your heart needs. Even when you said nothing, I heard everything. Your soul has been crying out, quietly, privately, beneath the surface of your daily life. And those cries have reached me louder than any spoken prayer ever could. You have carried emotions too heavy to articulate, so you tucked them away behind busyness, behind responsibilities, behind distractions, behind a strong face that you wore for others. There were days when you felt overwhelmed but couldn't find the words to explain why. There were nights when your thoughts were loud but your voice was silent. You told yourself, "It's fine," even when your soul whispered, "It's not." And though no one else noticed, I did. I felt the weight in your chest, the tension in your heart, the exhaustion in your spirit. Your silent cries came in many forms. The sighs you let out when no one was around, the heaviness you felt upon waking, the sudden tears you quickly wiped away, the deep longing for peace that you couldn't express out loud. You didn't know how to pray about it because you didn't know how to describe it. You didn't feel comfortable opening up to others because you feared being misunderstood. So instead, you carried the ache alone, hoping it would fade, but it didn't. Your soul kept crying because something inside you was starving for healing, connection, direction, and rest. But hear me. I never needed your words to understand your pain. I have been listening to the language of your soul, the language of longing, of fatigue, of hope buried under discouragement. I have been watching the battles you fight in silence, the ones no one acknowledges because you've gotten so good at appearing strong. And I want you to know this: not one of those silent cries was wasted. Not one was ignored. Not one slipped past me unnoticed. Your silence has not been emptiness. It has been communication, and I have been responding. You think your silence means you are weak, but it doesn't. It means your heart is deeper than your vocabulary. It means your emotions run too deeply for shallow words. And I honor that depth. But I also want you to understand this. You do not have to carry everything quietly. You do not have to heal alone. Your soul doesn't need to scream to be heard. You are already heard. The cries you suppress, the confusion you hide, the worries you mute, I am addressing them now. I am moving toward the places in you that have been aching for attention. And I am telling you this so you will no longer mistake silence for isolation. When your soul cries, I answer. Let me speak directly to the heaviness you've been trying to manage. The weight you carry is not meant to stay on your shoulders, and deep down, you know you were never built to hold what you've been holding. You've been pushing through life with burdens that feel older than your years, emotional weights you inherited, responsibilities you never asked for, expectations you placed on yourself, wounds you never fully healed from, and pressures that were never yours to bear. Some of these burdens came from people you love. Some came from seasons that broke you. Others came from the lies you believed about yourself. And slowly, without realizing it, you grew used to carrying weight that my hands were always meant to lift. You tell yourself you're strong enough, but strength is not measured by how much you carry. It is measured by how willing you are to release what is crushing you. You tell yourself others have it worse, so you minimize your own pain, forgetting that your heart has limits too. You convince yourself that resting is weakness, slowing down is failure, asking for help is burdening others, and so, you attempt to hold everything tightly, even when everything feels like it's slipping through your fingers. But this weight has been affecting you more than you admit. You felt it in your emotions, your energy, your patience, your spiritual clarity. It hath been pressing on your mind, tightening your chest, stealing your joy. You feel it when you wake up, when you go to sleep, when you sit in stillness. The weight has become a shadow that follows you, not because you failed, but because you have been carrying loads that require divine strength, not human endurance. Hear me. I never asked you to be your own savior. I never asked you to solve everything alone. I never asked you to carry what breaks you. The weight you feel is not a punishment. It is a sign that something needs to be surrendered. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is handing over what was never yours to hold. I want you to release the pressure of being perfect, the fear of disappointing others, the shame of past mistakes, the anxiety about the unknown, the guilt of your limitations. These burdens bend your shoulders because they were never designed to rest on them. I am calling you to put the weight down, not because you are incapable, but because you are loved. Let me lift what exhausts you. Let me carry what overwhelms you. Let me hold what breaks you. Your hands were made for worship, not worry. Your mind was made for clarity, not chaos. Your heart was made for peace, not pressure. And when you finally release this weight, you will discover the freedom your soul has been aching for. The freedom that comes not from trying harder, but from trusting deeper. Feel the urgency of this moment. Your future is not waiting for some distant day when you finally have it together. It is being shaped right now, in the choices you are making today, in the habits you're feeding, in the thoughts you're entertaining, in the relationships you're allowing, and in the boundaries you're refusing to set. You often tell yourself that the big shifts will come later, when life settles, when pressure eases, when you feel stronger or more prepared. But listen to me. Destiny is not built in dramatic leaps. It's built in daily decisions. Every yes you give, every no you avoid, every compromise you tolerate, every truth you embrace or reject. These choices are molding your tomorrow long before you ever step into it. And the reason you feel such heaviness, such tension, such spiritual sensitivity right now is because your choices in this season hold unusual weight. I am shaping your future through what you choose today. You've noticed the pattern, how things that once felt casual now feel costly. How decisions you used to make without thinking now stir your spirit. How certain conversations, commitments, or relationships suddenly feel too heavy, too draining, too out of alignment for where you're headed. That's not random. That is me awakening your discernment. I am pulling you out of autopilot living and bringing you into intentionality. You cannot drift your way into destiny. You must choose your way into it. And I am making you more aware because I refuse to let your future be sabotaged by today's neglect. But let me speak with compassion. I am not telling you this to overwhelm you. I'm telling you because I want you to understand the power you hold. You are not at the mercy of your past. You are not trapped by old mistakes. You are not confined to old versions of yourself. Your future is not doomed, delayed, or denied. It is being shaped in every brave choice you make right here, right now. When you choose truth over comfort, you're shaping your future. When you choose healing over hiding, you're shaping your future. When you choose prayer over panic, obedience over impulse, clarity over chaos, boundaries over bondage, you're shaping your future. And every time you choose me, even in the smallest ways, heaven moves on your behalf. Do not underestimate the significance of this season. This is a turning point. The weight you feel is confirmation that you're standing in a place where divine destiny is being carved into your timeline. And you are not choosing alone. I am with you, guiding you, strengthening you, whispering to you, nudging you, protecting you from decisions that would derail you and leading you toward the ones that will transform you. Your future is being shaped today, not by fear, not by pressure, but by your willingness to align with the version of yourself I already see. Let me confront you with a gentle truth. You have been trying to fill a God-sized void with things that were never meant to satisfy you. Distractions, relationships, achievements, entertainment, busyness, habits, even spiritual routines performed without real connection. These substitutes soothe for a moment but leave you emptier afterward, like drinking water that dries your mouth or eating food that never nourishes your body. You keep reaching for things that calm the ache temporarily, but the ache always returns because it was never meant to be healed by anything less than my presence. I see the cycle, the searching, the striving, the moments of temporary relief followed by deeper longing. I see the way you tell yourself, "This will make me feel better," only to find yourself even more restless after the moment passes. You are not broken. You are misaligned. You are trying to quiet a spiritual hunger with earthly noise. You've attempted to fill this void in many ways. Sometimes through productivity, convincing yourself that being busy means being fulfilled. Sometimes through people, hoping their acceptance might silence the insecurity inside you. Sometimes through escapes, scrolling, entertainment, food, plans, fantasies, habits, anything to numb the inner ache for a moment. Sometimes even through religious activity that feels more like obligation than connection. And it's not that all these things are bad. Many of them are good in their proper place, but none of them can carry the weight of your soul. None of them can give you identity. None of them can give you peace. None of them can give you meaning. They were never meant to, because those needs were designed to be met by me alone. Hear me. The emptiness you feel is not failure. It is an invitation. An invitation to stop reaching outward for what can only be found inwardly through me. An invitation to stop settling for substitutes when the source is calling. That ache inside you is holy. It is the compass of your spirit pointing you back to what you were made for. You think you're searching for comfort, but you're actually searching for connection. You think you're seeking escape, but you're actually seeking encounter. You think you want relief, but you actually want restoration. And I am not angry with you for trying to fill the emptiness. I am longing to fill it myself. I am drawing you away from the things that momentarily soothe you but secretly weaken you. I am calling you back to the only place where your spirit finds rest, where your identity is reinforced, where your fears dissolve, where your wounds are healed, where your strength is renewed. You have a God-sized void because you have a God-given destiny, and only my presence can prepare you for it. Feel this truth with clarity. Your spiritual sensitivity has been numbed, not destroyed, not lost, not broken beyond repair, simply numbed by the constant noise, the emotional strain, the unprocessed pain, and the distractions that have crowded your inner world. You have been living surrounded by so much mental and emotional clutter that your spirit has struggled to breathe. You used to discern things quickly. You felt my nudges, sensed danger, recognized peace, understood conviction. But lately, everything feels muted, distant, harder to interpret. And you've blamed yourself, thinking something must be wrong with your faith. But the truth is simpler. When life grows loud, the spirit grows quiet, not because it is weak, but because it is overwhelmed. You've been carrying too much, too many responsibilities, too many opinions, too many expectations, too many unresolved emotions. And all of it piled on top of your inner life like layers of dust, dulling your discernment, clouding your clarity, and making it hard for you to feel me the way you used to. It's not that I stopped speaking, it's that your spirit hath been exhausted. You've been pulled in so many directions that your heart hasn't had space to listen. You've been stretched so thin that even when I whisper, the noise of stress echoes louder. But hear me, numbness is not death. It is a sign that sensation is returning. The very fact that you've noticed the numbness means your spirit is waking up again. I am removing the layers that smothered your sensitivity. I am stripping away the noise that drowned out my voice. I am healing the wounds that made you hesitant to trust your discernment. I am restoring your ability to feel me, not just know me intellectually, not just remember me emotionally, but sense me spiritually with the clarity you once had and the depth you've never experienced before. You will feel the difference as I awaken you. You will notice conviction returning, not to condemn you, but to guide you. You will sense peace more sharply, peace that cuts through confusion. You will recognize warning signs faster, not through fear, but through discernment. You will feel my presence more consistently, not as an occasional moment, but as a steady awareness. And the numbness you've been frustrated by will break like thawing ice, revealing a sensitivity that was buried, not lost. Your spiritual sensitivity is awakening, and once it awakens, it will empower you in ways you have long forgotten. Hear me with the weight this moment deserves. There are consequences to neglecting what I have told you, not because I am eager to discipline you, but because ignoring truth always leads you down paths that drain you, confuse you, and distance you from the peace your soul was built for. You have felt these consequences before, even if you didn't recognize them as such. The emotional heaviness that lingered after you chose what you knew wasn't right, the spiritual fog that settled over you when you drifted from the practices that once kept you grounded, the regrets that whispered through your heart when you turned away from convictions you felt clearly. These were not punishments, they were consequences. Consequences are not expressions of my anger but reflections of the spiritual laws that shape your inner world. You cannot plant seeds of compromise and expect to harvest clarity and strength. You cannot silence the voice of conviction and expect peace to remain. You cannot walk away from what I've instructed and still expect your path to stay straight. But understand this, consequences are not the end of your story. They are invitations back to alignment. When you feel the discomfort of stepping outside my will, it is not because I am pushing you away. It is because I am pulling you back. You are made to walk in truth, to walk in light, to walk in strength, and when you drift from that place, your spirit feels the imbalance immediately. That tension, that heaviness, that lack of fulfillment. These are signals designed to turn your heart back toward me before the distance becomes greater. Neglect happens subtly. It begins with small decisions, small excuses, small moments when you say, "I'll deal with this later," or "it doesn't really matter." But small neglect grows into spiritual erosion. And I am speaking now because I refuse to let erosion hollow out the foundations of your life. I am not warning you to frighten you. I am warning you to preserve you. You cannot afford to ignore what I'm showing you, not in this season. There are things you've prayed for, breakthroughs you've asked for, levels of clarity you've longed for, but they cannot exist in the same space as neglect. Neglect weakens your sensitivity. Neglect opens doors that should remain closed. Neglect creates confusion where there should be discernment. And I love you too much to let you live with the consequences of ignoring what I've already made clear. You have asked me to be direct, and this is my directness in love. Pay attention. Respond. Honor what I've said. Because the life you desire is on the other side of obedience, not avoidance. Let me speak plainly to the tension you've been feeling. You have been standing in places, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and even relationally, that make you vulnerable in ways you have underestimated. These places may look harmless on the surface, but they have been weakening your discernment, dulling your spirit, and distracting your focus. You've been keeping company with influences that pull you toward old habits. You've been lingering in environments that carry atmospheres your spirit cannot breathe in. You've entertained thoughts that erode your identity. You've tolerated conversations that sow seeds of doubt, insecurity, or compromise. And although you try to convince yourself that you are unaffected, your soul has been reacting through heaviness, confusion, and subtle distance from the peace you once felt so easily. Listen, spiritual vulnerability is not always obvious. It doesn't always show up as dramatic temptation or sudden failure. Often, it shows up as slow fading passion, fading clarity, fading sensitivity, fading motivation, fading commitment. You start feeling disconnected from the things that once grounded you. You begin to lose the urgency you once felt to protect your spiritual life. You compromise small boundaries that once mattered deeply to you. And over time, you find yourself wondering, why do I feel off? Why can't I sense God like I used to? But it's not because I stopped speaking. It's because your environment has been draining you without your permission. And hear me, this is not about punishment or perfection. It is about protection. I am shining light on these vulnerable places because danger rarely announces itself with alarms. It sneaks in through proximity. You cannot stay in atmospheres that contradict who you are becoming and expect to remain strong. You cannot stand in conversations rooted in negativity or temptation and expect your mind to stay clear. You cannot remain planted in relationships that feed your wounds more than your healing and expect your spirit to stay whole. You cannot expose your heart to unhealthy influences and expect your faith to remain vibrant. I am calling you away from these vulnerable places not because I want you isolated, but because I want you fortified. You are stepping into a season where your spiritual health matters more than ever. You need clarity. You need strength. You need stability. And the places you stand shape the person you become. So hear my warning. Soap in love. Move. Shift. Step out of the environments that are weakening you. Step into spaces that nourish you. Your spirit knows the difference. Listen to it. Feel the seriousness of this truth. I am calling you away from sin that has become too comfortable, the habits you've justified, the patterns you've minimized, the behaviors you've excused, the compromises you've allowed because they feel familiar and easy. Sin rarely arrives with boldness. It creeps in quietly, disguised as relief, as entertainment, as comfort, as a way to cope, as not that big of a deal. And without realizing it, you find yourself returning to things that numb your spirit, weaken your discipline, and dilute your sense of purpose. You tell yourself you can handle it, that you're strong enough, that you'll stop eventually. But what you call control is actually bondage disguised as choice. But hear me. I am not calling you away from sin to shame you. I am calling you away because sin steals from you. It steals your clarity. It steals your spiritual authority. It steals your fire. It steals your ability to hear me clearly. It steals your confidence. It steals your peace. Every time you run toward sin, you run away from strength. Every time you justify it, it gains more access to the deeper parts of your life. And the danger is not in one moment of failure. It's in the slow settling into patterns that disconnect you from who you were created to be. You felt this. You felt the guilt afterward that doesn't match your true self. You felt the heaviness that lingers far longer than the momentary pleasure. You felt the way your spirit dims, the way conviction fades, the way it becomes easier to repeat something that once made you tremble. That is the sign that sin has become too comfortable, and I love you too much to let you remain there. Now hear my voice clearly. I am not calling you to shame. I am calling you to freedom. Freedom that cuts chains you didn't know were forming. Freedom that restores sensitivity you thought you lost. Freedom that reignites passion you assumed had withered. Freedom that lifts the heaviness you've been quietly carrying. I am calling you out not because you are unworthy, but because you are chosen. I am calling you away because you are meant for holiness, strength, and purpose. And though the call may feel heavy, it is a call dripping with hope, because any place I call you away from is a place I am ready to deliver you out of completely. Your comfort with sin ends where your freedom begins. Hear this with the full weight of truth. Your purpose is not denied, not canceled, not forgotten, but it is being delayed by choices you keep repeating, choices that you know are beneath who you are and beneath who you are becoming. These choices are familiar, comforting, easy, predictable, but they also keep you trapped in cycles that steal your momentum and slow your spiritual growth. You've wondered why certain doors haven't opened yet, why clarity hasn't increased, why breakthrough feels close but never fully arrives. It's not because I'm withholding anything from you. It's because you are walking in circles around patterns I've been trying to break for years. And every time you return to these patterns, you step away from the forward movement your destiny requires. You have felt this tug of war inside you, the desire for change battling, the instinct to return to what's familiar. You tell yourself you'll break the pattern next week, or when things calm down, or when you feel stronger, Yet the cycle resets and time keeps passing. But hear me, purpose is not built on desire alone. It is built on decisions. Decisions that require discipline, honesty, and courage. Decisions that often feel uncomfortable because they pull you away from the comforts that numb you. Decisions that feel costly because they confront the weaknesses you prefer to ignore. But I love you too much to let you live at odds with your own calling. These repeated choices, whether they are habits, relationships, compromises, thought patterns, or emotional reactions, may feel small, but they affect your spirit more than you admit. They drain your focus. They scatter your energy. They break your consistency. They steal your confidence. And they delay the transformation that you've been praying for. I am not angry with you for repeating these choices. I am exposing them so you can finally overcome them. You cannot move into the next chapter while recycling the same decisions that kept you stuck in the last one. But here is my promise. The moment you choose differently, everything begins to shift. The moment you break the pattern, even once, heaven moves in your direction. The moment you align your choices with your calling instead of your comfort, you will feel strength returning to your spirit. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be willing. Your purpose is not waiting for a flawless version of you. It is waiting for a committed version of you. And when you finally stop repeating what wounded you, delayed you, or distracted you, you will see how quickly purpose begins to unfold. Listen to this with the seriousness it carries. I am awakening you now because time matters more than you realize, and the season you are stepping into cannot be treated lightly. For too long, you have lived as if time was endless, as if opportunities would always return, as if your future could wait until you felt ready, motivated, or inspired. But time is not something you manage. It is something you steward. And there are things connected to your calling, your healing, your relationships, your growth, and your destiny that must begin now. Not later. Not someday. Now. That urgency you've been feeling, that pressure inside, that stirring, that spiritual discomfort, is not anxiety. It is awakening. You have wasted time before, not intentionally but through distraction, procrastination, fear, or emotional exhaustion. And while I have redeemed those seasons, this season is different. Your time is now tied to purpose in a way that it never has been before. There are people you're meant to influence, places you're meant to go, assignments you're meant to step into, battles you're meant to win, and blessings you're meant to receive, but they are connected to readiness. And awakening is the first step toward readiness. I am shaking you because you cannot sleepwalk into what I am preparing. Awakening always feels disruptive at first, because it interrupts comfort, breaks routine, and calls you to attention. But it is necessary, because where I am taking you requires sharpness, sensitivity, awareness, and intentionality. Time matters, not because you're running out, but because your purpose is ready. You've been sensing this. The feeling that something is coming, the unexplainable urgency to get your life in order, the sudden need to heal old wounds, the desire to separate from things that drain you, the craving for clarity and alignment. This is not coincidence. It is divine timing. I am moving pieces you cannot see, opening doors you have not yet approached, preparing opportunities that you will miss if you are spiritually asleep. That is why I am waking you now, because your window of transformation is open, and you must step through it with awareness, not delay. Understand this. Awakening is not meant to scare you. It is meant to empower you. It is me saying, what's ahead is worth the discipline. What's coming is worth the surrender. What I've prepared is worth the effort. Your life is too meaningful to drift. Your calling is too important to ignore. and your time is too precious to waste. So I awaken you, because the future waiting for you deserves a version of you who is fully alive. Let this settle deeply into your spirit. I am not warning you to frighten you. I am warning you because something in your life needs saving, protecting, preserving, and redirecting before it drifts beyond the point of easy recovery. Fear is not my language. Love is. And every warning I send is rooted in protection. I see the paths ahead of you with a clarity you do not yet have. I see the temptations forming in your future, the subtle traps, the potential heartbreaks, the places where your strength will be tested, the choices that could carry long-term consequences. And because I love you, I speak before the danger fully forms. My warnings are not storms, they are shields. You have felt this warning rising inside you, a discomfort you cannot explain, an uneasiness in situations that once seemed harmless, a heaviness in your spirit when you consider certain choices, a sudden caution around certain people or environments. These internal alarms are me protecting you. When I warn you, it is because your spirit is standing at the edge of something that could harm your calling, your peace, your purpose, or your future. Not everything dangerous looks dangerous. Not everything harmful feels harmful at first. That is why I alert you sooner, louder, stronger. Do not mistake my urgency for anger. Urgency is the language of love when something precious is at stake, and you are precious to me. When I warn you, it is because I see potential within you worth guarding. I see promises you have yet to step into. I see healing you still need. I see relationships that could strengthen you and others that could break you. I see the spiritual battles forming long before you sense them, and I call you to awareness not to intimidate you, but to equip you. A warning is not a threat. It is an intervention. It is a hand pulling you back before you fall. It is a whisper stopping you before you wander. It is a light turning on in a room where darkness was trying to hide. It is me saying, "You matter too much for me to stay silent." So do not fear the warning. Lean into it. Let it redirect you, strengthen you, sharpen you, and protect you. This warning is not here to frighten you. It is here to save you. Feel the weight of this moment. You know I have been asking you to let go of certain things. Things you keep holding onto even though they drain you, diminish you, distract you, and distance you from who you are meant to become. I have whispered to you through conviction, nudged you through discomfort, and spoken through the uneasiness that rises every time you return to what your spirit has already outgrown. You felt the tension, the quiet pull to release what no longer aligns with your future, and the loud resistance of your comfort, fear, and memories insisting you cling to what is familiar. But hear me, when I ask you to let something go, I'm not asking you to abandon joy. I'm asking you to abandon what steals it. I'm not asking you to lose something precious. I'm asking you to release something poisonous. I'm not taking from you. I'm saving you. You've held on to certain people longer than they were meant to walk with you. Their presence has grown heavier, their influence more costly, your energy more draining. Yet you stay, hoping loyalty will transform what is already decaying. You've held on to habits that comfort your flesh but weaken your spirit. You've kept environments that speak to your old self but suffocate your new one. You've been clinging to identities formed in seasons of pain, carrying labels that were never meant to define you beyond the moments they were born in. And though you feel the strain of holding on, you fear what life looks like without these attachments because you haven't yet seen what I'm ready to place in your hands. Letting go is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the stripping away of what cannot come with you into the next season. The reason this release feels so hard is because your soul knows the shift is real. You're not losing pieces of yourself. You're shedding weights that were never part of you to begin with. You fear the emptiness that letting go creates. But emptiness is simply space. Space for healing. Space for clarity. Space for growth. Space for new blessings that can only land where clutter hath been cleared. And understand this. I will not force the release. I will not pry your fingers open. Love does not manipulate. It invites. But I will keep nudging you, reminding you, stirring your awareness, unsettled by what you try to cling to. Because deep in your spirit, you already know what must be released. You know what you have grown. You know what no longer carries peace. You know what has become too heavy. And you know I've been asking, gently, consistently, lovingly. Let go, not because I demand it, but because you deserve the freedom on the other side of surrender. Hear me with clarity. Your heart has been divided, pulled in two directions, one toward me and one toward what weakens you. And it cannot stay that way if you want to walk in the peace, purpose, and power you've been praying for. The divided heart is a conflicted heart, torn between desires that lead to life and impulses that lead to emptiness. You felt this division in the form of restlessness, emotional fatigue, and spiritual inconsistency. You try to move forward with intention, but part of you keeps tugging backward toward comfort, distraction, and compromise. You try to pray deeply, but your mind drifts. You try to worship freely, but guilt interrupts. You try to make progress, but something inside you hesitates, unsure which direction to fully give yourself to. This division is not happening because you are weak. It's happening because you've been trying to live two lives at once. The life of surrender and the life of self-preservation. The life of faith and the life of fear. The life of alignment and the life of attachment. But hear me. You cannot walk in power while your heart is split. You cannot become who I've called you to be while parts of you cling to what I've asked you to leave behind. You cannot experience the fullness of my presence while entertaining the very things that dull your sensitivity to me. A divided heart always produces divided results, divided peace, divided purpose, divided strength. But I am not exposing this division to shame you. I am exposing it to heal you. Because you've been living in an inner tug-of-war that has exhausted your soul. You've been trying to keep everyone happy, trying to keep old patterns alive while building a new life, trying to maintain attachments that drain you while longing for a deeper connection with me. This internal split is the reason your spirit feels torn. And I am inviting you, not demanding you, to come into wholeness. Wholeness begins when you stop trying to love what wounds you. Wholeness begins when you stop feeding what destroys your peace. Wholeness begins when you stop protecting what God is trying to remove. And wholeness begins when you give me not just the parts of your heart that feel holy, but the parts that feel messy, conflicted, tempted, and afraid. I want all of it and unjudged unified. Your heart cannot stay divided because you were created to walk in clarity, not confusion. In strength, not hesitation. In freedom, not fragmentation. Let me make your heart one again. Listen closely, because this call carries the tenderness of a father and the urgency of a king. I am calling you to return to the place of intimacy with me, the place where your spirit once breathed freely, where your heart once felt alive, where you once found peace without searching and clarity without striving. You remember that place. You remember the seasons when my presence felt close, when prayer poured out of you naturally, when worship felt like home, when conviction felt gentle, when guidance felt clear, when you didn't have to force your faith because your heart was connected. That intimacy wasn't an emotional high. It was your spirit operating the way it was designed to operate, close to me. But the noise of life, the weight of responsibilities, the pressure of expectations, the sting of disappointments, and the lure of distractions gradually pulled you away. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly, so slowly you didn't realize how distant you had become. Your prayers became shorter. Your worship became quieter. Your spiritual hunger became duller. And the space that once belonged to me became filled with everything else: tasks, fears, screens, people, worries, burdens. Yet even as you drifted, something deep inside you missed me. Not religion, not routine. Me. You missed the stillness. You missed the clarity. You missed the joy that didn't depend on circumstances. You missed the peace that made no sense. You missed the conversations you used to have with me in the quiet, the assurance that wrapped around you like a blanket, the tears that felt like cleansing instead of breaking. That longing you feel, that ache that returns in quiet moments, is your spirit remembering where it belongs. So hear my voice now, calling with tenderness. Come back. Come back to the place where you are known without performing. Come back to the place where you are safe without pretending. Come back to the place where your weaknesses don't disqualify you and your fears don't intimidate me. Come back to the place where I refill what life drains, where I heal what people wound, where I restore what sin stole, where I speak into the places silence could not reach. Intimacy with me is not about perfection. It's about connection. It's about letting me into the spaces you've kept guarded. It's about allowing my presence to quiet the noise, calm the chaos, and soften the hardness life has built around your heart. I am calling you to return, not because I need you, but because you need me. And everything you've been searching for in the wrong places is waiting for you where you left me. Come back. I've never stopped waiting. Listen to me with the stillness your soul has forgotten how to hold. You have neglected the quiet places where I meet you, the sacred spaces where your mind slows, your heart softens, and your spirit becomes aware of my presence in ways noise can never reveal. You once knew these places well. Those moments of stillness where time felt suspended and peace wrapped itself around you like a warm covering. But somewhere along the way, life grew louder, busier, heavier, and the quiet became something you avoided rather than embraced. You filled your days with tasks, your nights with distractions, your mind with noise, your emotions with pressure. Not because you hated silence, but because silence began to reveal things you didn't want to confront: your pain, your longing, your fears, your unanswered questions. And yet, silence has always been the space where I speak most clearly. You have been longing for answers, clarity, direction, and healing, yet you've stopped entering the environment where those things flow freely. You've asked me to guide you, but you've starved the moments where my voice becomes unmistakable. You've told yourself you don't have time to be still, but the truth is deeper. You don't have time not to be still, because the busyness you've used to cope is actually what is draining you, distracting you, and disconnecting you from the strength I've been trying to give you. The quiet you've avoided is the very place where your spirit relaxes back into alignment with me. But hear me. I am not scolding you. I am calling you back. The quiet place is not a punishment. It is an invitation. It is where I soothe the tension you carry in your chest. It is where I separate my voice from the noise of your thoughts. It is where I refill what life empties. It is where I remind you of your identity, cleanse you from the heaviness of the world, and restore the tenderness your heart has lost. You don't need hours of silence. You need willingness. Just moments where your attention turns fully toward me. Moments where you breathe deeply instead of rushing. Moments where you stop striving long enough to receive. And hear this, too, every time you feel the urge to withdraw into quiet, that is me calling. Every moment of restlessness inside you, that is me beckoning. Every sudden longing for peace, that is me inviting you back. You have not lost the quiet place. You have simply walked away from it. And I am leading you back now, not through guilt, but through love. Return to the silence that strengthens you. Return to the stillness that heals you. Return to the quiet where I meet you. Hear the urgency woven into these words. You are drifting without noticing, moving slowly, subtly, almost imperceptibly away from the stability your soul needs. Drift never feels dramatic. It doesn't happen through rebellion. It happens through distraction. It happens when prayer becomes occasional instead of essential. When conviction becomes familiar instead of transformative. When compromise becomes casual instead of alarming. When your spirit grows quiet, not because I stopped speaking, but because the world grew louder. Drift feels like normal life until it doesn't. Until you wake up and wonder why you feel empty, numb, distant, confused, or spiritually dull. You haven't walked into darkness. You simply loosen your grip on the light. You haven't rejected me. You've just become inconsistent. You haven't abandoned your purpose. You've just stopped nurturing it. And that is why I speak now with such seriousness, because drifting often leads to places you never intended to go. Drift is how you end up in wrong relationships. Drift is how you return to old habits. Drift is how you lose sensitivity to my presence. Drift is how your peace erodes, your confidence crumbles, and your discernment weakens. Not through one big decision, but through small, repeated moments of spiritual neglect. But hear me. I'm not speaking this to frighten you. I'm speaking it to catch you. Drifting doesn't mean you're lost. It means you need anchoring. And I am calling you back before distance becomes damage. I am pulling you into awareness before your spirit becomes numb. I am waking you before subtle compromise becomes a stronghold. You may think you're just tired, busy, distracted, but I see deeper. Your soul is signaling that something is misaligned. Your uneasiness isn't random. It's revelation. Your discomfort isn't instability. It's intervention. That inner tug you keep feeling is my hand on your heart, pulling you back before drift becomes deviation. And here is the hope woven into this warning. You can return quickly. Drift doesn't require shame. It requires awareness. Drift doesn't require punishment. It requires recentering. Drift doesn't require guilt. It requires turning. A single moment of genuine return. A single decision to realign, to surrender, to re-engage spiritually, can pull you out of a drift that took months to form. My warnings are not signs of distance, they are signs of pursuit. I am warning you because you are drifting and because I refuse to let you drift away from what I've prepared for you. Listen with full attention. There are things ahead of you, both blessings and battles, that require preparation, strengthening, and spiritual maturity. I am not revealing this to intimidate you, but to awaken you to the reality that your future is bigger than your complacency, deeper than your current level of discipline, and more demanding than the spiritual routines you've grown comfortable with. What's coming is not ordinary. You have prayed for increases, breakthroughs, new opportunities, deeper relationships, higher purpose, clearer direction. And I have heard every request. But every elevation requires preparation. Every blessing requires wisdom. Every breakthrough requires readiness. Destiny cannot land on unprepared ground. You sensed the shift. You felt the stirring inside, the feeling that life is about to change, that something is building in the unseen, that doors are forming you haven't even knocked on yet. This feeling isn't imagination. It's spiritual foresight. It's me preparing your spirit before your circumstances catch up. But preparation often feels like pressure. It feels like conviction intensifying. It feels like habits being challenged. It feels like old cycles becoming intolerable. It feels like me pruning what can't stay, stretching what must grow, healing what has hindered you, and sharpening what has grown dull. You cannot walk into the next season with the same level of discipline you had in the last one. You cannot carry old wounds into new assignments. You cannot bring compromised habits into elevated purpose. You cannot step into spiritual authority with a neglected spirit. Preparation is not punishment, it is protection. It is me equipping you so what's ahead doesn't overwhelm you, derail you, or destroy the blessings I am ready to release. Understand this. What's coming will require a stronger prayer life, deeper discernment, clearer boundaries, and a steadier spirit. You will need to be able to hear me above the noise, follow me despite the unknown, trust me through transitions, and obey me even when it stretches you. But I will not ask you to face anything alone. I prepare you because I go with you. I strengthen you because I stand beside you. I warn you because I love you. And when the future unfolds, you will see that every conviction, every awakening, every discomfort, and every moment of preparation was my way of protecting your destiny. What's ahead is great, but greatness requires readiness, and I am making you ready. Hear me with the full force of my love. I will never allow destruction to overtake you without sending a warning first. And this, right now, is that warning. Not a threat, not a punishment, not a prophecy of doom, but a divine intervention meant to shield you from paths, people, and patterns that would lead you into harm you cannot yet see. You often measure danger only by what looks dramatic, but understand this: the most dangerous things in your life rarely begin loudly. Destruction begins in subtle compromises, in slow drifting, in small decisions that accumulate silently until you find yourself in a place your spirit was never meant to stand. And because I see what lies ahead, the hidden traps, the emotional consequences, the spiritual costs, I speak now to pull you away before you step into something that will cost you more than you are prepared to pay. You have felt this warning rising like an inner alarm. You've sensed uneasiness around certain people you once trusted blindly. You've felt hesitation when approaching decisions you used to make easily. You've noticed patterns in your life that once seemed harmless but now feel unnervingly dangerous. You felt me tightening your spirit, narrowing your sense of peace, making certain actions feel heavier than they ever did before. That heaviness is not random. It is me protecting you. When doors close unexpectedly, when plans fall apart, when relationships shift suddenly, when your spirit feels uneasy but you can't explain why, these are not frustrations, they are protections. They are me rerouting you. I send warnings because I refuse to let you walk into heartbreak that could have been avoided. I refuse to let the enemy gain access to places I've been strengthening. I refuse to let familiar temptations pull you back into cycles you've already been delivered from. I refuse to let subtle influences seduce you into losing your fire, your clarity, your identity, or your purpose. You may not see what's forming in the unseen, but I do, and because I do, my love will always speak before danger arrives. Even when you didn't listen in past seasons, I still warn you. Even when you ignored your own discernment, I still whispered. Even when you walked into things I tried to pull you away from, I still covered you, still preserved you, still brought you back. Hear me now. This warning is a rescue. This unsettling in your spirit is divine protection. This conviction is my hand pulling you away from the edge. You do not need to fear what I am revealing. You only need to respond. I warn you because you matter too much to me to let destruction touch you without first surrounding you with truth. Let this warning not burden you. Let it save you. Listen to this with the fire of conviction I'm placing in your spirit. You have been too comfortable with lukewarm living, not cold enough to feel lost, not hot enough to feel transformed. Somewhere between convenience and calling, between desire and discipline, between hunger and hesitation, Your faith has settled into a middle ground that feels safe but is slowly suffocating your spiritual fire. Lukewarmness is deceptive because it doesn't feel dangerous. It feels familiar, manageable, easy. It's the place where you do just enough spiritually to avoid feeling guilty, yet not enough to be truly alive. You pray but inconsistently. You surrender but partially. You worship but without depth. You obey but selectively. And you've convinced yourself that this middle space is good enough, but your spirit knows better. This is why you've been feeling restless. This is why your peace has felt incomplete. This is why your joy has seemed unstable. This is why you haven't felt the strength and clarity you once walked in. Lukewarm living produces lukewarm results, and lukewarm results cannot sustain the weight of the life I'm calling you to build. You were not created for half-hearted faith. You were not designed for passive spirituality. You were not meant to survive spiritually. You were meant to burn with purpose, with conviction, with passion, with power. But hear me. I am not condemning you. I am awakening you. I am stirring the embers beneath the ashes. I am reminding you of who you were before life diluted your passion. There was a time when your spirit was tender, when my presence moved you to tears, when worship felt like oxygen, when my word lit fire in your bones, when obedience wasn't a struggle but a joy. That fire didn't die, it was buried. And now I am reaching beneath the weight of your routine, your exhaustion, your disappointments, your distractions, and igniting what has been dormant inside you. Lukewarmness is not your identity. It is a sign that your spirit is craving more. More depth, more intimacy, more encounter, more truth, more surrender, more alignment. And I am calling you out of the middle ground because the middle ground weakens you. It leaves you spiritually vulnerable, emotionally inconsistent, and mentally scattered. I want you clear, grounded, ignited, and unshakable. So I am confronting your lukewarmness not to shame you but to reignite you. You were created for fire, not for the comfort of spiritual neutrality. Hear me with absolute clarity. You can't be who I have called you to be while clinging to who you used to be. Your destiny and your past cannot coexist in the same space. Your calling and your old identity cannot share the same heart. Your purpose cannot grow in the soil of outdated habits, wounded mindsets, and familiar patterns. You keep praying for transformation, yet resisting the very shedding that transformation requires. You want the future without letting go of the past. You want elevation without releasing what weighs you down. You want new identity while hanging on to old ways of coping, thinking, reacting, and believing. But you cannot step into your next while holding hands with your former self. You felt the tension, the pull between who you were and who you're becoming. Part of you wants to rise. Part of you wants to stay where it's familiar. Part of you wants freedom. Part of you fears what freedom requires. The old version of you was built for survival, for seasons that demanded walls, caution, and defense. But those seasons are ending. And the version of you I'm calling forth cannot operate with the mindset of someone who is simply trying to make it through the day. Your new season requires a new you, healed, whole, confident, courageous, surrendered, aligned, aware, and spiritually awake. Understand this. Becoming who I created you to be is not about abandoning your story. It is about outgrowing it. It is about letting me heal the wounds that shaped your behaviors. Letting me rewrite the lies that shaped your identity. Letting me break the cycles that shaped your patterns. Letting me remove the labels that shape your confidence. I am not asking you to become someone else. I am asking you to become the version of yourself that was buried under trauma, fear, disappointment, sin, and self-preservation. The shift will require decisions that feel uncomfortable at first. You will have to release relationships that anchor you to old versions of yourself. You will have to break habits that numb you. You will have to reject thoughts that diminish you. You will have to unlearn lies that kept you small. But hear me, everything you let go of in this process will be replaced with something greater. Deeper peace, clearer purpose, stronger identity, healthier relationships, renewed confidence, and unshakable faith. You cannot become the future version of yourself without burying the past version that no longer fits you. I am calling you into evolution. I am calling you into identity. I am calling you into destiny. And the moment you choose to stop living as who you were, you will finally step into who you are called to be. Listen to me with courage, because what I am about to uncover runs deeper than you've admitted even to yourself. I am confronting the fear that has been controlling your decisions. Fear has been shaping your choices, steering your relationships, limiting your risks, silencing your voice, and shrinking your potential. You have learned to operate around fear rather than beyond it. You make decisions based on what feels safest, not what feels right. You avoid opportunities because you fear failure. You hold back your gifts because you fear judgment. You stay in familiar patterns because you fear change. You settle for less because you fear disappointment. But I did not create you to live a life dictated by fear. I created you to walk in authority, boldness, and spiritual confidence. Fear disguises itself well. It doesn't always show up as panic or dread. Sometimes it comes as overthinking, hesitation, procrastination, over-explaining, or needing constant reassurance. Sometimes it shows up as perfectionism, pretending that I'm not ready yet, when deep down you are simply afraid to try. Other times it takes the form of keeping your heart guarded, not because discernment tells you to, but because fear tells you people will hurt you again. But hear me, fear has disguised itself as wisdom in your life too many times, and I am exposing it now. You have been praying for clarity, for direction, for breakthrough. But often, when my answer comes, fear is the voice that answers back first. Fear says you can't. Fear says you won't. Fear says, what if you fail? Fear says, what if they reject you? Fear says, what if you're not good enough? And every time you listen to that voice, you step further away from the life I'm trying to give you. You've mistaken fear's familiarity for safety, but safety is not the same as peace. Safety keeps you comfortable. Peace keeps you aligned. Fear keeps you small. Purpose calls you higher. That's why I am confronting your fear, not to embarrass you, but to liberate you. Fear has ruled your decisions long enough. It has influenced your identity long enough. It has dictated your growth long enough. I'm shining light on this stronghold so it can no longer hide behind excuses. The places where you feel the most resistance right now are the places where fear has built the strongest walls, and those walls are coming down. You will learn to trust me beyond your logic, to obey me beyond your comfort, to move even when you're trembling, to speak even when your voice shakes, to step forward even when your knees feel weak. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing me in the presence of it. Fear has led your decisions long enough. Now it's time for faith to lead you instead. Hear this truth with gentleness and authority. Your anxiety has not been a curse. It has been a sign, a signal, a divine indicator that something in your life is misaligned, overloaded, ignored, or unhealed. You've treated anxiety as an enemy, as a flaw, as a failure, as evidence that something is wrong with you. But anxiety is not me punishing you. It is your soul trying to communicate what your mind has been too overwhelmed to process. Anxiety is the sound of a heart carrying more than it was designed to hold. It is the echo of inner imbalance, spiritual disconnection, emotional buildup, and a pace of life that has stretched you beyond your capacity. And though you've judged yourself harshly for feeling anxious, I have not judged you. I have been listening. Your anxiety hath been telling you that you've been trying to do too much alone, that you've been moving too fast, that you've been suppressing emotions that need release, that you've been carrying burdens that need surrender, that you've been living in environments that drain your spirit, that you've been feeding thoughts that weaken your peace, that you've been ignoring warning signs your heart has been whispering for months. Anxiety is not a permanent condition. It is a message, and ignoring it does not make it go away. It makes it louder. But hear me. I am not disappointed in you for feeling anxious. I am drawing closer to you because of it. Anxiety does not disqualify you from my presence. It invites my presence. I am near to the brokenhearted, near to the overwhelmed, near to the weary, near to the anxious. I am not waiting for you to calm down. I am waiting for you to let me in. You've tried to fix anxiety with control, but control only tightens your grip around what is hurting you. You've tried to outrun anxiety with busyness, but busyness only buries it deeper. You've tried to suppress anxiety with distraction, but distraction only delays healing. Your anxiety is a sign that something needs my touch. It is a sign that you need rest, restoration, release, and renewal. It is a sign that you need deeper connection, not deeper coping mechanisms. It is a sign that you need to shift your pace, adjust your relationships, heal your wounds, and return to the place where your soul can breathe. Anxiety is a sign that you need me, not as a concept, but as a lifeline. And when you finally bring your anxiety to me honestly, without shame or pretense, you will discover that what you thought was a curse has actually been a compass pointing you back to my presence. Your anxiety is not the end of you. It is the beginning of your healing. Hear the tenderness and urgency in these words. I am warning you because you keep running to lesser things for comfort, temporary distractions, fleeting pleasures, emotional escapes, and numbing habits that soothe you for a moment but leave you emptier afterward. These things offer instant relief but carry long-term emptiness. They feel comforting for a moment, but the comfort does not last. And each time you run to them, you delay the very healing your heart is craving. I am not calling you out in anger. I am calling you out because you deserve more than the things you've been settling for. You've been turning to these lesser comforts when the weight of life feels overwhelming, when loneliness presses in, when memories hurt, when fear rises, when exhaustion wraps around you, when clarity feels out of reach. You seek relief, and instinctively, you reach for what is accessible, familiar, soothing to the flesh. But hear me, temporary relief is not the same as lasting healing. Distraction is not restoration. Numbing is not peace. Escape is not deliverance. And each time you turn to lesser comforts, they disconnect you just a little more from the deeper comfort that your spirit truly needs. These lesser things are not always sinful. Sometimes they are simply insufficient. They cannot hold the weight of your pain. They cannot answer the questions in your soul. They cannot break the patterns that keep you stuck. They cannot give you rest. They cannot give you strength. They cannot give you identity. They cannot give you healing. And they cannot give you the peace that comes only from me. You have been settling for moments when I want to give you transformation. So hear my warning with love. Stop running to empty wells. Stop feeding a hunger that those things cannot satisfy. Stop trusting comforts that steal more peace than they give. You deserve more. You were created for more. Your spirit has been groaning for more. I am calling you into deeper comfort, the kind that heals wounds instead of numbing them, the kind that restores your confidence, the kind that quiets your anxiety, the kind that lifts your burdens, the kind that awakens your purpose, the kind that anchors your identity. These lesser things do not comfort you, they distract you. And I love you too much to watch you keep running to what cannot save you. Turn to me when the pressure rises. Turn to me when your heart aches. Turn to me when your emotions overwhelm you. Turn to me when temptation whispers. I am the comfort your soul was designed for. The only comfort that lasts. The only comfort that heals. The only comfort that makes you whole. Listen to me with honesty and openness. You keep ignoring the call to rise higher. Not because you don't hear it, but because rising requires leaving behind things you've grown attached to. Things that feel familiar. Things that feel safe even though they are slowly suffocating your spirit. Deep inside, you know I am calling you upward. You feel it every time something inside you stirs during moments of conviction. You feel it every time a conversation leaves you uneasy. You feel it every time you sense that who you are becoming no longer fits who you've been. Yet even with all these signals, you've been resisting the climb. Why? Because rising higher feels costly. It feels like losing the comfort of old habits, old relationships, old routines, old mindsets. And part of you fears what life will look like without them. But hear me, elevation always requires separation. Not separation from love, but from the weights that keep you grounded in places you were never meant to stay. You've been settling for circles that don't challenge you, environments that don't nourish you, conversations that don't grow you, and habits that don't strengthen you. And though these things feel familiar, they are also the reasons your spirit feels restless. You are experiencing divine discomfort, the ache that forms when your calling becomes too large for your current way of living. You're sensing that something greater is ahead, yet you hesitate because greater always feels intimidating before it becomes empowering. But I am calling you higher because your destiny is higher, your purpose is higher, your identity is higher, and the version of you that I formed before you were even born exists at a higher level than the one you're operating from now. You cannot rise while clinging to what keeps you low. You cannot climb while holding on to excuses. You cannot elevate while refusing to release what drains you. You cannot grow while surrounding yourself with voices that limit your vision. The call to rise is not about pressure. It is about preparation. I am preparing you for a life that requires more of you than low places ever demanded. I am calling you into spiritual maturity, emotional resilience, mental clarity, and deeper intimacy with me. Because everything I have planned for you requires you to stand taller than the challenges that once defeated you. You've ignored the call not because you didn't want it, but because you doubted your capability. But hear me clearly. The call to rise doesn't rely on your ability. It relies on your surrender. I do not call the qualified, I qualify the willing. Stop resisting the elevation I am trying to give you. You were born to rise. Hear this with sober clarity. You cannot keep playing with temptations that are designed to destroy you. Not weaken you temporarily. Not distract you momentarily. Destroy you. There are temptations that have been circling your life, appearing harmless at first, dressed in pleasure, comfort, relief, or familiarity. But beneath the surface, the enemy has crafted them with precision, tailored to your vulnerabilities, timed to your exhaustion, disguised as comfort in your moments of weakness. Every time you tell yourself, "It's not that serious, it's just one time, I can handle it," or "I'm strong enough," you underestimate the spiritual danger you're stepping into. Temptation is never about the moment, it's about the momentum. The enemy isn't after your slip. He's after your surrender. He isn't after your mistake. He's after your mindset. He isn't after your action. He's after your identity. And he knows that if he can distract you with small compromises, he can distance you from the strength, focus, and discernment you need for your calling. Temptation always comes packaged as something manageable, something you think you can control. But you cannot play with fire and expect not to be burned. You cannot entertain snakes and expect not to be bitten. You cannot flirt with sin and expect your spirit to stay sharp. You have already felt the consequences of these temptations, the heaviness that follows the momentary pleasure, the shame that settles afterward, the distance you feel from me, the confusion that clouds your thoughts, the lack of motivation to pray, the guilt that makes you avoid my presence. These are not punishments, they are symptoms. Symptoms that the temptation you're entertaining is stealing more from you than you realize. And if you continue to play with what is meant to destroy you, you will start losing parts of yourself slowly. Your peace, your confidence, your clarity, your spiritual sensitivity, your self-respect. But hear me. I'm not speaking this to condemn you. I'm speaking this to save you. I'm warning you because I love you too deeply to stay silent while you stand near danger. I'm showing you the truth so you can break free before bondage forms. I am calling you out of temptation not because I want to limit you, but because I want to liberate you. You do not have to fall. You do not have to stay stuck. You do not have to accept the lie that this will always be your struggle. When you choose me over temptation, you choose strength over weakness, freedom over bondage, future over failure. Turn away now, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Temptation is a trap, but I am your escape route. Listen with full attention, because this is one of my most urgent truths to you. I am trying to save you from a future you cannot handle alone. Not because you are weak, but because the battles ahead of you require divine strength, divine wisdom, divine protection, and divine discernment. Things you cannot access if you keep drifting, compromising, or trying to navigate life in your own human power. You see only what is right in front of you. You feel only what today demands. But I see the long path ahead, the unseen traps, the emotional storms, the spiritual battles, the subtle deceptions, the people who look harmless now but carry intentions that will wound you later, the opportunities that look good now but would break you if accepted. I see the future, not to terrify you, but to prepare you. You've prayed for blessings, and I'm preparing you for them. You've prayed for purpose, and I'm strengthening you for it. You've prayed for elevation, and I'm reshaping you so the elevation doesn't crush you. But blessings come with battles. Purpose comes with pressure. Elevation comes with responsibility. And if you walk into these things spiritually empty, emotionally unstable, or mentally distracted, they will overwhelm you instead of bless you. That is why I am speaking to you with such intensity, because your future is sacred, and I refuse to let you sabotage it unknowingly. There are things forming in your future that you are not ready for yet, threats that would break you if you keep walking in your own wisdom. There are traps that the enemy is setting that you will not recognize unless your spirit is sharp. There are opportunities that look divine but are actually designed to derail you. There are relationships ahead that require discernment to navigate wisely. And there are assignments waiting for you that demand strength you haven't built yet. I am not warning you to shame you. I am warning you so you can rise into readiness. If you keep ignoring my nudges, running to lesser comforts, playing with temptations, and settling for lukewarm living, you will not be prepared for the weight of what you've been asking me for. But if you respond now, if you listen, if you surrender, if you realign, I will equip you for every battle, guide you through every challenge, sharpen you for every mission, and strengthen you for every blessing. You do not have to be afraid of the future, not when I walk before you, beside you, and within you. I am trying to save you from a future you cannot handle alone. so that together we can build a future you will thrive in. Hear this with honesty and clarity. You keep asking me for direction while ignoring the instructions I have already placed before you. You pray for guidance, yet hesitate when guidance arrives. You ask, what should I do? Even though I've whispered the same answer into your spirit repeatedly. You cry out for clarity, but the truth is this: you are not confused, you are resistant. Resisted because the direction I gave you requires change, sacrifice, discipline, and courage. Resistant because my instructions confront habits you don't want to release, relationships you don't want to reevaluate, boundaries you don't want to enforce, and comfort zones you don't want to leave. But hear me clearly, you cannot receive new direction while ignoring the last instruction. You've mistaken uncertainty for confusion, but what you're feeling is conviction. You're not lost. You're avoiding the path you already know you should take. You've been circling the same questions, hoping I'll give you an easier answer, a softer command, a less challenging route. But I don't offer shortcuts that sabotage destiny. I don't give watered-down instructions to match human comfort. I speak truth because truth sets you free, even when it stretches you, even when it confronts you, even when it pulls you out of what feels safe. You keep asking me to show you the future, while I keep pointing to the step right in front of you, the one you've been hesitating to take. And hear this: my instructions are not punishments. They are preparations. Every direction I've given you, even the difficult ones, have been designed to protect you, shape you, strengthen you, and prepare you for the future you've been praying about. I've told you to let go of certain relationships because they weaken your spirit. I've told you to stop feeding certain habits because they cloud your mind. I've told you to return to discipline because your spirit cannot thrive on scattered consistency. I've told you to be still because your decisions are louder than my voice. You think I am delaying your blessing, but I'm actually waiting for your obedience. Your prayers are not the issue. Your willingness is. You don't need more instructions. You need to trust the ones already given. And I tell you this not with frustration, but with love. Because everything you've been asking me for is on the other side of obedience. You want breakthrough? Then take the step. You want clarity? Then follow what you've been shown. You want peace? Then align yourself with the truth you already know. Stop asking me for a map when I've already placed the next step beneath your feet. Listen closely, because this moment will shape how you navigate everything that comes next. I am about to expose what has been hiding in plain sight. Things you overlooked, people you misread, patterns you didn't question, motives you trusted too quickly, and spiritual dynamics you weren't aware of. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. You have been walking through life with pieces of information missing, unaware of certain influences that have been affecting your judgment, emotions, and spiritual sensitivity. Some things have been disguised as blessings but were actually distractions. Some people have been presenting loyalty while planting seeds of doubt. Some opportunities have looked promising but carried traps beneath the surface. I didn't reveal these things earlier because you were not ready to see them, but now you are. Exposure can feel unsettling. It can feel like losing control, losing comfort, or losing stability. But hear me. Exposure is protection. I am bringing truth to the surface so deception can no longer manipulate you. I'm revealing motives so you can guard your heart wisely. I am uncovering hidden spiritual battles so you can pray with precision. I am exposing counterfeit alignments so you can make room for the relationships that truly strengthen you. What has been hiding will no longer hide, not because I want you alarmed, but because I want you prepared. For months, maybe even years, you felt inner conflict around certain situations but couldn't explain why. You felt heavy after certain interactions. You felt drained by certain connections. You felt confused by certain opportunities. You felt tension in atmospheres that looked harmless. That was your spirit picking up what your mind was not yet ready to perceive. The uneasiness was revelation without details, and now I am ready to give you the details. Don't fear what I expose. Exposure reveals the truth, and truth restores clarity. It brings direction. It breaks unhealthy ties. It removes illusions. It strengthens discernment. And most importantly, it aligns you with my protection. What I expose, I heal. What I expose, I strengthen you against. What I expose, I empower you to overcome. Prepare yourself not for chaos, but for clarity. Not for confusion, but for truth. What you are about to see will change how you move, how you choose, and how you trust. This exposure is not loss. It is liberation. Hear this with the depth it demands. You can no longer ignore the spiritual battle surrounding you. You've been treating spiritual warfare like a distant concept, something that happens somewhere else or to someone else, yet you've been living in the aftermath of battles you didn't even realize were being fought. Every sudden wave of heaviness you couldn't explain, every sharp emotional shift that came out of nowhere, every attack on your self-worth, every random surge of temptation, every moment of spiritual numbness, these were not coincidences. These were signs. Signs that you are in the middle of a battle the enemy hopes you stay blind to, because blindness keeps you defenseless. You've been feeling spiritually drained not because you're weak, but because something had been fighting to keep you from alignment, from clarity, from growth, from breakthrough, from purpose. The enemy does not waste energy targeting people with no potential. He targets those who threaten him. And you, yes, you, threaten him. Because of your calling. Because of your impact. Because of your potential. Because of the influence you carry. Because of the freedom you are stepping into. But you've been trying to fight spiritual battles with emotional tools, overthinking, avoidance, self-blame, distraction, and none of those work in the spiritual realm. This is why I need you awake, aware, sharpened, disciplined, prayerful, connected, sensitive, not fearful, aware. Awareness brings authority. Authority brings victory. And I am not calling you to fight in panic. I am calling you to fight with me. I am not asking for fear, I'm asking for engagement. I'm asking you to stop pretending nothing is happening spiritually when everything is happening spiritually. I cannot have you walking blindly when the enemy is strategizing clearly. I cannot have you ignoring warfare while the enemy targets your mind, your peace, your focus, your relationships, and your identity. But hear this with hope. You are not at a disadvantage. You are not losing. You are not unprotected. You are not outmatched. You are simply uninvolved. And the moment you re-engage spiritually, the moment you pray with intention, speak with authority, resist temptation with awareness, worship with focus, seek me with consistency, the atmosphere around you will shift. The battle will bend. The attacks will lose power. And you will see that what once overwhelmed you can be overcome when you stand in the authority I've already given you. The battle is real, but so is your victory. It's time to fight with your eyes open. Hear this with the fullness of my compassion and urgency. You keep ignoring the part of you that is begging for healing, the part of you that you silence, suppress, distract, and push aside because facing it feels too overwhelming. You've convinced yourself that you can keep functioning without tending to that wound, that you can keep moving without acknowledging that brokenness, that you can keep smiling while hiding that ache. But even though you've worked hard to bury it, that wounded place inside you has been speaking louder through your emotions, louder through your triggers, louder through your reactions, and louder through the heaviness you feel at unexpected moments. You have tried to numb it, outrun it, hide it, or manage it, but healing cannot happen in the shadows. And the reason you feel so exhausted, so easily overwhelmed, so emotionally fragile lately is because that unhealed part of you is crying out, not for coping, but for restoration. You've carried this wound for far too long. Maybe it came from betrayal, from abandonment, from mistakes you can't forgive yourself for, from words spoken over you that left scars, from losses you never processed, from childhood pain you tried to forget, from seasons of heartbreak that hardened your heart. Whatever the source, this wound has shaped how you think of yourself, how you love, how you trust, how you react, how you see the world, and whether you admit it or not, it has been controlling more of your life than you intend. You've been living from a place of survival instead of a place of wholeness, and survival has kept you functioning, but it has not allowed you to thrive. But hear me. Healing is not weakness. Healing is not reopening the pain. Healing is releasing it. Healing is not reliving the past. Healing is reclaiming your future. Healing is not about revisiting trauma. It's about restoring identity. I am not asking you to face your wounds alone. I am asking you to allow me into them. The parts you hide are the parts I want to heal. The places you avoid are the places I want to restore. The memories you fear are the memories I want to rewrite with truth. You cannot keep pretending you're fine when your soul is begging for relief. You cannot keep holding yourself together through sheer willpower when what you need is transformation. You cannot keep suppressing emotions that need processing, wounds that need tending, and pain that needs my touch. Listen, I'm not exposing your wound to shame you. I'm exposing it to free you. This is your moment to stop surviving and begin healing. Let me speak to you with honesty that pierces but heals. You've been hoping things will change without changing anything. You want new outcomes while keeping old habits. You want transformed circumstances while clinging to the same patterns. You want breakthrough without discipline, clarity without stillness, freedom without surrender, elevation without obedience. You've been waiting for something external to shift while avoiding the internal shift I've been calling you into. And this is why frustration has been growing, not because your prayers are unheard, but because your actions are unchanged. You've been telling yourself, things will get better soon, but better doesn't happen by accident. It happens by alignment. You've been saying, I know I need to change, but knowing is not transforming. You've been waiting for a sign, waiting for motivation, waiting for a feeling, but transformation begins with a decision, not an emotion. The cycles you feel trapped in are not unbreakable. They are unchallenged. The patterns that drain you are not permanent. They are familiar. You have the strength to rise, but you've been waiting for convenience instead of committing to consistency. Understand this. I am not withholding change from you. I am waiting for your participation in the process. Faith does not replace responsibility. Faith empowers responsibility. I can open doors, but you must walk through them. I can reveal truth, but you must respond to it. I can convict your heart, but you must surrender what is harming you. I can give you vision, but you must take steps toward it. I can stir your spirit, but you must act on what you feel. Don't confuse waiting on me with resisting me. Many of the delays in your life have come not from my timing, but from your hesitation. And I'm not condemning you for it. I'm calling you out of it. Because the life you desire, the peace you long for, the purpose you are reaching for, all of it requires a version of you that is willing to change. Change your habits. Change your mindset. Change your boundaries. Change your focus. Change your response to conviction. You're not stuck. You're stagnant. and stagnation breaks the moment you choose movement. Stop hoping things will shift while doing the same things that keep you in the same place. I have change prepared for you, but you must meet it with willingness. Hear me with urgency. Stop letting distractions pull you away from what I am trying to do in you. You've been asking me to mold you, reveal things to you, change you, strengthen you, grow you. But every time I begin the deep work, distractions rush in, and you let them take your attention, your focus, and your momentum. Your distractions are not random, they are strategic. The enemy knows he cannot destroy you, so he distracts you. He cannot stop your calling, so he keeps you too busy to walk in it. He cannot kill your purpose, so he fills your life with noise that keeps you from hearing my voice. You've been distracted by people who don't deserve that level of access to your heart. Distracted by habits that numb you instead of nourish you. Distracted by entertainment that fills your mind but starves your spirit. Distracted by worries that drain your energy but produce nothing. Distracted by your phone, by opinions, by emotions, by situations that pull you out of spiritual alignment. And though each distraction seems small on its own, together they are stealing your time, your energy, your clarity, and your direction. But hear me. I am doing a deep work in you. A real work. A work that requires your attention, your presence, your engagement, your consistency, your willingness to stay focused even when distractions scream for your attention. You have asked for transformation, now protect it. You have asked for purpose, now guard it. You have asked for clarity, now make room for it. You have asked for healing, now stop running from the stillness where healing happens. Distractions don't always look harmful. They look harmless, comforting, easy, entertaining, familiar. But anything that steals your focus steals your progress. Anything that numbs your spirit delays your growth. Anything that interrupts your alignment weakens your discernment. Anything that pulls you away from me pulls you away from your purpose. Stop letting distractions dictate your spiritual condition. Focus. We center. We commit. I am trying to speak to you, strengthen you, shape you, but I cannot compete with the noise you willingly entertain. I'm not calling you into deprivation, I'm calling you into concentration. You must decide what matters more, the distraction or the destiny. Because where your focus goes, your future follows. Listen to me with complete honesty, because this is a moment where I am reaching into the deepest part of your being. You keep pretending you're fine when your soul is exhausted. You have pushed yourself beyond emotional limits, spiritual limits, mental limits, and physical limits, and yet you continue to carry yourself as if nothing is wrong. You've been wearing strength like a mask, resilience like armor, composure like a shield, not because you are truly okay, but because you don't want anyone to see how tired you really are. You've convinced yourself that admitting weariness means weakness, that slowing down means failure, that asking for help means burdening others. But hear me clearly, pretending you are fine is not strength. It is suffocation. And you're so You've been pushing through days with low energy and forcing yourself through nights filled with overthinking. You have felt drained even after rest, heavy even without crisis, disconnected even while surrounded by people. You've been functioning but not flourishing, pressing forward but not thriving, surviving but barely breathing. And the reason you feel so deeply worn out is because you've been trying to maintain a version of yourself that no longer reflects your internal reality. You've been carrying burdens silently, hoping they will lighten on their own, but they haven't. In fact, pretending has added weight, not remove it. Hear me. I did not create you to live in emotional exhaustion. I didn't design you to internalize everything. I didn't intend for you to carry burdens without support. Your soul was created to rest in me and not run from me. Your spirit was created to breathe deeply in my presence, not suffocate under pressure. And your heart was made to pour out, not bottle up. The exhaustion you feel is not proof that you are broken. It is proof that you are human, that you've been carrying too much alone, and that now is the time to stop pretending. Your weariness is not an embarrassment to me. It is an invitation. I am not asking for perfect strength. I am asking for honest surrender. Stop telling yourself you have to push through everything on your own. Stop believing the lie that vulnerability disqualifies you. Stop silencing the voice inside you that keeps saying, I can't keep doing this alone. I hear that voice, and I'm answering it. Bring me your exhaustion, your heaviness, your confusion, your numbness, your sadness, your emptiness. Let me refill you, restore you, renew you. You don't have to be fine with me. You only have to be real. Hear this truth with the weight it carries. You've been resisting the very changes you prayed for. You asked me for growth, and now resist the process that grows you. You asked me for healing, and now resist the moments where your wounds rise to the surface. You asked me for clarity, and now resist when I reveal truths that require uncomfortable adjustments. You asked me for purpose, and now resist the pruning that purpose demands. You asked me for elevation, and now resist the discipline that makes elevation sustainable. You are not resisting me out of rebellion. You are resisting out of discomfort. But hear me clearly. Every change you've been avoiding is connected to the breakthrough you've been asking me for. I know these shifts feel overwhelming. Growth often feels like loss before it feels like progress. Healing often feels like exposure before it feels like relief. Clarity often feels like disruption before it feels like direction. Purpose often feels like pressure before it feels like meaning. Elevation often feels like sacrifice before it feels like reward. You've wanted transformation, but transformation is not gentle. It requires stretching, shifting, releasing, unlearning, stepping forward, and stepping away. You cannot hold on to old patterns and expect new outcomes. You cannot stay in familiar environments and expect supernatural elevation. You cannot keep your old mindset and step into a new season. The truth is, you've recognized the changes I'm calling you to, but fear has made you hesitate. You fear uncertainty. You fear discomfort. You fear letting go. You fear disappointing others. You fear stepping into the unknown. But hear this. The unknown is where your next level is. The discomfort is where your growth is. The release is where your freedom is. The surrender is where your power is. I'm not calling you into destruction. I'm calling you into destiny. And destiny requires change. Stop resisting what you asked me for. Every divine shift you feel right now is part of the very blessing you prayed for. Respond, don't resist. Lean in, don't pull back. Your future is unfolding, but you must be willing to move with it. Listen to me with deep attention. I am calling you to cleanse the environments that keep polluting your spirit. You have been trying to grow spiritually while remaining in atmospheres that drain your energy, weaken your discernment, stir your anxieties, and disrupt your peace. You've surrounded yourself with voices that don't align with your calling, habits that dull your sensitivity, environments that pull you backward, and influences that cloud your clarity. And though you've tried to convince yourself that you can remain unchanged in these environments, your spirit knows the truth. What you consistently expose yourself to eventually shapes you. You've been feeling uneasy around certain people for a reason. You've been feeling drained after certain interactions for a reason. You've been feeling confused after consuming certain content for a reason. You've been feeling disconnected from me after spending time in certain places for a reason. And that reason is this: Your spirit is being polluted by environments not designed to carry your destiny. Your peace is telling you the truth your mind tries to ignore. Your discernment hath been warning you, this atmosphere is not for you. This conversation is not for you. This habit is not for you. This influence is not for you. This environment is not for you. Hear me clearly. You cannot walk in spiritual purity while living in polluted spaces. You cannot hear me clearly while surrounded by noise that drowns my voice. You cannot cultivate spiritual strength while soaking in atmospheres that weaken your spirit. You cannot grow in purpose while living in places that cater to your past. There comes a moment where you must choose the environments that protect your purpose, not the ones that pacify your comfort. I am not calling you to isolate. I am calling you to elevate. And elevation requires separation from what contaminates your spirit. Cleanse your surroundings. Cleanse your mind. Cleanse your habits. Cleanse your relationships. Cleanse your intake. Cleanse your atmosphere. Because the blessing I'm preparing for you requires a purified environment for it to flourish. You've been feeling the pull. Now honor it. Your spirit deserves clean air. Your purpose deserves protection. Your calling deserves clarity. Cleanse the environments that pollute you, and you will finally breathe the spiritual oxygen you've been gasping for. Listen to me with full awareness, because this truth has been echoing inside you for months. You cannot walk into your future while entertaining voices that contradict your calling. There are voices in your life, some external, some internal, that have been shaping your choices, influencing your emotions, and weakening your confidence without you even realizing it. These voices come through people who speak from their own brokenness, through environments that mold your thinking, through fears that whisper lies, through memories that distort your identity, and through insecurities that replay old narratives. And each time you give these voices space, they pull you one step away from the path I've been guiding you toward. You've been trying to silence my voice while giving attention to voices that don't carry truth. You listen to criticism and call it honesty. You listen to doubt and call it caution. You listen to fear and call it wisdom. You listen to your past and call it identity. You listen to wounded people and call it loyalty. But hear me, not every voice is meant to have access to your spirit. Not every voice deserves a seat at the table of your decisions. Not every voice carries discernment. Not every voice aligns with your calling. And as long as you allow contradictory voices to speak louder than mine, you will always feel conflicted, confused, and spiritually unstable. You know the voices I'm talking about. The voices that drain you. The voices that discourage you. The voices that minimize your growth. The voices that tempt you back into patterns you've already outgrown. The voices that make you question your worth, your purpose, your progress. The voices that reinforce your fears. The voices that pressure you into the version of yourself I've already called you out of. These voices have been shaping your identity, not because they carry truth, but because you gave them access. Hear me clearly. My calling on your life is too important, too specific, too sacred to be diluted by voices that don't reflect my heart. I am calling you to silence the noise, to identify the influences that weaken you, to recognize the patterns of thought that oppose the truth I've spoken over you. You cannot move forward while nurturing the voices that hold you back. You cannot walk in purpose while feeding thoughts that make you feel unworthy. You cannot grow spiritually while digesting words that limit your faith. Your future requires clarity, and clarity requires selective hearing. You must choose whose voice you trust. You must choose whose words you allow to shape your identity. You must choose who gets access to your heart. When you finally silence the voices that contradict your calling, you will hear me more clearly than you ever have before. Hear this with courage, because I am speaking to the part of you that has been quietly trembling. I am revealing what you have been avoiding because it is time to face it. You've been running from truths that feel too heavy, too painful, too overwhelming, or too complicated to deal with. But avoidance does not heal wounds, it only deepens them. Avoidance does not eliminate fear, it strengthens it. Avoidance does not bring peace, it delays it. There are things you've tucked away in the corners of your heart, things you've convinced yourself you'd deal with later, things you've buried beneath busyness, distraction, and emotional distance, but later never came. And the weight of what you've avoided has been affecting you far more than you realize. You've been avoiding uncomfortable conversations that could bring freedom, avoiding decisions that would require courage, avoiding healing because you feared the pain of confronting your past, avoiding boundaries because you feared losing people, avoiding change because you feared uncertainty, avoiding forgiveness because you feared vulnerability. And the longer you've avoided these things, the more your heart has grown restless, anxious, conflicted, and heavy. Avoidance always promises temporary relief, but it always produces long-term bondage. Hear me. I am not exposing these things to embarrass you or overwhelm you. I am exposing them because they cannot continue to be the weight that drags your spirit down. I am revealing what you've avoided because avoidance has been stealing your joy, clouding your clarity, and sabotaging your growth. You think facing these things will break you, but facing them with me will heal you. What you fear confronting is exactly where I want to meet you. Where you see pain, I see breakthrough. Where you see discomfort, I see transformation. Where you see fear, I see freedom ready to unfold. You are stronger than you think. You are wiser than your past decisions. You are more resilient than your fears suggest. And the healing you've been praying for cannot happen until you face the things you've been running from. I am not asking you to face them alone. I am asking you to let me face them with you. Bring your fear. Bring your hesitation. Bring your tears. Bring your trembling. Healing isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing truth despite it. It's time to face what you've been avoiding, because on the other side of confrontation is peace, clarity, and the freedom your soul has been craving. Listen to me with quiet honesty. Your heart is growing hard in places you haven't noticed. Slowly, subtly, silently. This hardness didn't appear suddenly. It formed through disappointment that you never expressed, pain you never processed, trust you never rebuilt, and moments where you felt unprotected, unheard, or unnoticed. Hardness forms when your heart tries to protect itself without my help. And although it feels like strength, it is actually a wall that blocks healing, blocks intimacy, blocks growth, and even blocks clarity. There are parts of your heart that used to be tender, tender with compassion, tender with conviction, tender with surrender, tender with hope, but life's blows have made you cautious, guarded, defensive. You don't show the world that you're hurting. Instead, you tighten your emotions, numb your sensitivity, and call it survival. But in reality, your heart is growing less receptive to joy, less open to love, less responsive to conviction, and less willing to trust, and you didn't even notice it happening. You harden your heart towards certain people because of past hurt. Harden your heart towards certain possibilities because of past disappointment. Harden your heart toward hope because you don't want to be let down again. Harden your heart toward vulnerability because you equate softness with danger. Hardened your heart toward me in subtle ways, not out of rebellion but out of exhaustion. Every wall you've built has been an attempt to keep pain out, but those same walls are keeping healing out too. Hear me clearly. I am not exposing this hardness to shame you. I am exposing it to soften you. A hardened heart cannot receive new direction. A hardened heart cannot feel my presence fully. A hardened heart cannot step into deeper purpose. A hardened heart cannot have really. And a hardened heart cannot sense warning or conviction with clarity. Hardness doesn't protect you. It isolates you. And I love you too much to let you stay locked in emotional survival mode. Let me soften the places that have grown numb. Let me melt the defenses you built out of fear. Let me heal the disappointments you never voiced. Let me restore the tenderness that life tried to steal. You don't have to protect yourself from me. I am not here to hurt you. I am here to heal you. And when your heart softens, you will breathe differently, love differently, think differently, and live differently. Your heart is growing hard in places you haven't noticed, but now that you see it, let me restore what was lost. Listen closely, because this truth cuts through the illusions you've been relying on. You keep trying to fix spiritual problems with earthly solutions. You've been applying logic to battles that require discernment. You've been using willpower to confront wounds that require surrender. You've been seeking human advice in situations that require divine instruction. You've been consuming distractions to numb pain that only my presence can heal. And every time you attempt to solve spiritual issues with earthly tools, you end up feeling more frustrated, more exhausted, and more stuck than before. You've been wondering why things are not changing, why clarity is not coming, why the weight is not lifting, why the confusion keeps circling. But this is why. Spiritual battles cannot be won with natural means. You've tried reorganizing your life, but not reconnecting with me. You've tried controlling circumstances, but not surrendering the outcome. You've tried motivating yourself, but not allowing me to strengthen you. You've tried ignoring the problem, but not addressing the spiritual root. You've tried self-help when what you truly need is my help. And though these earthly attempts bring temporary relief, they never bring lasting transformation. They soothe the symptoms, not the source. They silence discomfort without solving the deeper issue. And I love you too much to let you keep treating spiritual wounds with superficial remedies. Hear me. Some storms in your life are not emotional. They are spiritual. Some heaviness is not mental. It is spiritual. Some confusion is not circumstantial. It is spiritual. Some cycles are not psychological. They are spiritual. And until you approach them with spiritual weapons, prayer, worship, surrender, stillness, obedience, you will continue to feel like you are fighting shadows that never die. You've been trying to use human strength for battles that require divine intervention. You were never meant to handle this alone. You were never meant to diagnose your life without my insight. You were never meant to navigate spiritual terrain with earthly eyesight. This is not a rebuke. It is a redirection. I am not telling you to stop trying. I am telling you to stop trying without me. You cannot fix spiritual problems with earthly solutions. But when you fight spiritually, heaven backs you. When you pray intentionally, chains break. When you worship sincerely, darkness flees. When you surrender truthfully, clarity returns. When you align with me, the battle shifts in your favor. Don't fight alone. Fight with me. Hear this with the force of hope your spirit desperately needs. You are closer to breakthrough than your feelings suggest. Your emotions have been telling you that nothing is changing, that you're repeating cycles, that you're failing, that you're stuck, but your feelings are lying to you. Your feelings reflect the pressure of transition, not the truth of your progress. Breakthrough rarely feels like victory at first. It feels like stretching. It feels like tension. It feels like resistance. It feels like warfare intensifying right before the shift happens. And that is what you've been experiencing. What you call struggle is actually spiritual momentum. What you call setback is actually spiritual repositioning. What you call delay is actually divine timing aligning in the background. You think you're stuck because you feel tired. You think you're far because you feel overwhelmed. You think you're failing because you feel pressure. But hear me. The pressure is proof that you're close. The heaviness is proof that the old is breaking off. The discomfort is proof that you're stepping into unfamiliar territory. The resistance is proof that the enemy sees what's coming and is trying to stop you. If nothing were shifting, you wouldn't feel this intensity. The fact that you feel so stretched, so conflicted, so emotional, so spiritually sensitive is evidence that you are standing right at the edge of transformation. Your breakthrough is not distant, it is near. Nearer than your doubts believe. Nearer than your exhaustion suggests. Nearer than your circumstances appear. You've grown more than you realize. You've healed more than you give yourself credit for. You've surrendered more than you see. You've awakened more than you acknowledge. And heaven has been moving pieces you don't even know about yet. Do not judge your progress by your feelings. Judge it by your faithfulness. You haven't quit. You haven't walked away. You haven't surrendered to old patterns fully. You haven't allowed darkness to reclaim your heart. You are still here, still reaching, still seeking, still fighting, still praying, still hoping. That persistence is the proof of breakthrough at work. You are closer than you think. Hold on. Press forward. Don't misinterpret the pressure. It's the birth of what you've been praying for. Hear this with the clarity your spirit cannot afford to ignore. I need you to pay attention to the subtle compromises you've been making, the small choices, the quiet decisions, the tiny shifts in standards that seem insignificant but are slowly weakening your spiritual foundation. Compromise never starts big. It starts with just this once. It starts with "it's not a big deal." It starts with "I'll get back on track tomorrow." It starts with slight adjustments to your convictions, slight delays in your obedience, slight excuses that you keep telling yourself. But these small compromises, repeated over time, create openings that the enemy uses to drain your strength, distort your discernment, and dull your sensitivity to my voice. You've been letting small things slide, prayers missed, boundaries bent, habits revisited, influences tolerated, convictions quieted. Not because you don't love me, but because you're tired, distracted, overwhelmed, or emotionally stretched. But hear me. Subtle compromise is the doorway to spiritual decline. Not immediately, not dramatically, but gradually, quietly, softly. The danger is not in the size of the compromise, but in the direction it pulls you. Every small compromise pulls you 1 inch away from alignment, 1 inch away from clarity, 1 inch away from sensitivity, 1 inch away from purpose, and inches become miles when repeated. I am not bringing this up to condemn you. I am bringing it up to protect you, to realign you, to wake you before drift becomes distance. I am calling you to strengthen your spiritual guard, to return to discipline, to reestablish boundaries, to close the doors you've cracked open, and to reclaim the standards that once kept you anchored. Do not dismiss what seems small. What seems small often carries the greatest power when compounded over time. Your calling is too important. Your future is too significant. Your purpose is too weighty. Your identity is too sacred. Your spirit is too valuable. And your destiny is too costly to be endangered by subtle compromises. Pay attention. Guard your heart. Protect your alignment. Small corrections now will save you from large consequences later. Listen carefully, because this truth carries both tenderness and urgency. You keep returning to what I've already delivered you from, not because you want the old pain, but because the old patterns still feel familiar. You've outgrown certain cycles, yet part of you keeps circling back to them in moments of loneliness, insecurity, stress, or emotional fatigue. The enemy has been using nostalgia, comfort, and habit to pull you toward places that no longer align with your identity. And every time you return, you feel the weight immediately. You feel the heaviness. You feel the conviction. You feel the disappointment in yourself. Not because I shame you, but because your spirit recognizes instantly, I don't belong here anymore. That discomfort is not a curse, it is proof of your growth. You've been revisiting old relationships that wounded you because they feel familiar. You've been revisiting old habits because they numb you temporarily. You've been revisiting old mindsets because they require less courage than stepping into the unknown. You've been revisiting old emotional cycles because healing feels like work. And though you keep trying to convince yourself that this time will be different, the truth is this: you cannot find new freedom in old traps. The chains you once broke will always look for an opportunity to reconnect. That is why I warn you when your heart starts drifting back toward what once entangled you, not to punish you, but to protect you. Hear me, I didn't deliver you halfway. I didn't break your chains temporarily. I didn't heal you partially. I didn't rescue you so you could return to the places that nearly destroyed you. Your spirit is too awakened now to fit into old patterns. Your purpose is too large for old cycles. Your identity is too restored to shrink back into old versions of yourself. And the discomfort you feel when you go backward is a sign that your soul knows the truth even before your mind accepts it. Returning is no longer an option. Stop romanticizing what I rescued you from. Stop revisiting what I've healed you from. Stop trying to resurrect what I intentionally buried. I delivered you because your destiny demanded it. Now walk like someone who is free, not like someone who is tempted by the familiar chains of yesterday. Hear this with clarity and directness. You cannot keep ignoring the habits that are draining your spirit, weakening your focus, and dulling your discernment. These habits might seem small to you: small indulgences, small compromises, small time wasters, small distractions, but they have been quietly stealing your strength day after day. You've wondered why your prayers feel weaker, why your mind feels scattered, why your emotions feel unstable, why your clarity feels blurred, and why your spiritual hunger fluctuates. The reason is simple. You cannot feed your flesh continually and expect your spirit to stay strong. You've been giving too much time to things that offer you nothing in return. You've allowed your mind to consume negativity, comparison, noise, and opinions that drown out my voice. You've allowed your body to run on exhaustion rather than rest. You've allowed your emotions to be influenced by what you watch, what you scroll through, what you entertain, and what you tolerate. And though none of these habits seem dangerous at first, together they have created a slow leakage of spiritual power inside you. This is not about legalism. This is about alignment. Your spirit thrives on intentionality, not indulgence. Purpose requires focus, not fragmentation. Destiny requires strength, not spiritual fatigue. Yet you have been giving your energy to things that don't feed your future. You've been allowing your spirit to starve while your distractions feast. You've been living below the level of discipline required for the life you've been praying for. I'm not exposing these habits to shame you. I'm exposing them because you've been praying for more clarity, more peace, more purpose, more intimacy with me, more breakthrough. And more always requires a shift in how you live, what you allow, what you feed, what you consume, and what you tolerate. If you want to rise, you must remove what keeps pulling you down. Your spirit is valuable. Your mind is valuable. Your time is valuable. Your purpose is valuable. And the habits that drain you must be confronted, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Let me speak this truth gently but boldly. You have been ignoring my voice not because you can't hear me, but because you don't like what I'm asking you to do. You hear me clearly in moments of conviction, clarity, or stillness. You feel my tug in your soul. You sense my direction in your spirit. But the moment my guidance challenges your comfort, your routine, your desires, your attachments, or your emotions, you hesitate. You delay. You question. You second guess. Not because my voice is unclear, but because obedience feels costly. I have asked you to let go of certain relationships, and you resist because the emotional tie feels stronger than the conviction. I have asked you to return to spiritual discipline, and you resist because distraction feels easier than devotion. I have asked you to confront patterns that harm you, and you resist because comfort feels safer than growth. I have asked you to step into new territory, and you resist because fear feels louder than faith. But hear me. My instructions are not burdens. They are blessings in disguise. Every time I ask you to release something, it's because I am trying to protect you. Every time I ask you to surrender something, it's because I'm trying to heal you. Every time I ask you to obey, it's because I'm trying to position you for what you've been praying for. Ignoring my voice delays your destiny, disrupts your peace, and prolongs cycles that were meant to be broken long ago. I am not asking for blind obedience. I am asking for trusting obedience. Not obedience rooted in fear, but obedience rooted in love. The reason my instructions feel uncomfortable is because they confront the parts of your life that need transformation the most. And if you will respond, even trembling, even unsure, even slowly, you will discover that the very thing you were afraid to obey is the very thing that will unlock your next level. Stop ignoring the voice you've been praying to hear. I am speaking, not to control you, but to guide you into freedom. Listen to me with complete honesty, because this truth touches the very tension you've been living in. You keep asking me for peace while holding on to the very things that steal it from you. You pray for calm, yet cling to chaos. You ask for rest, yet refuse to release the burdens that exhaust you. You crave clarity, yet entertain voices that confuse you. You desire emotional stability, yet keep feeding habits that destabilize you. You want spiritual peace, yet stay attached to people who disturb your spirit. And you've wondered why peace feels fleeting, fragile, temporary, or difficult to maintain. But the truth is this: peace cannot coexist with what you refuse to let go of. You've been praying, "Lord, give me peace," but the moment peace tries to settle into your heart, your attachments, distractions, anxieties, and old patterns push it out. You medicate your spirit with noise, then wonder why you feel disconnected. You replay old wounds, then wonder why you feel heavy. You keep one foot in healing and one foot in the past, then wonder why you feel torn. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of alignment. And the reason you haven't fully stepped into the peace I've been offering you is because you're still holding tightly to things that war against your soul. Hear me clearly. Peace requires release. You cannot hold on to bitterness and receive peace. You cannot hold on to fear and receive peace. You cannot hold on to control and receive peace. You cannot hold on to sin and receive peace. You cannot hold on to people who drain you and receive peace. Peace comes when your life makes room for it. When you choose surrender over struggle, trust over tension, discipline over distraction, obedience over avoidance. I am not withholding peace from you. You are crowding it out. But the moment you decide to let go of what fights your spirit, peace will fill the spaces that anxiety once lived in. I will give you the peace you keep praying for. But first, You must loosen your grip on the things that steal it. Hear this with clarity and conviction. I am trying to break the cycle you keep calling normal. You've lived in certain patterns for so long that dysfunction feels familiar. Unhealthy habits feel comfortable. Emotional instability feels expected. Spiritual inconsistency feels routine. Toxic relationships feel like home. And because these cycles have been part of your life for years, maybe even decades, you've convinced yourself that this is just how things are, that this is just how I am, that this is just life. But what you call normal, I call bondage. What you call routine, I call restriction. What you call survival, I call captivity. The cycle shows up in the same emotional patterns, the same insecurities, the same triggers, the same fears, the same reactions, the same discouragement, the same temptations. It shows up in your relationships, the same disappointments, the same types of people, the same painful endings, the same unhealthy dynamics. It shows up in your spiritual life, the same inconsistency, the same drifting, the same guilt, the same roller coaster of motivation and burnout. And each time the cycle repeats, you lose a little more hope that anything can change. But hear me, this cycle ends with you. I am not pointing it out to shame you. I am pointing it out because it's time for you to rise above what had been repeating in your life for far too long. You were not created to be trapped in generational patterns, emotional loops, or spiritual stagnation. You were created to break cycles, not live inside them. Everything in your spirit hath been feeling unsettled because I've been shaking the foundations of the cycle, loosening the grip of the pattern, disrupting what once felt familiar so that your eyes open to what has been holding you captive. You don't have to repeat the same pain. You don't have to relive the same story. You don't have to pass down what was passed to you. I'm offering you freedom, but freedom requires recognition. Freedom requires surrender. Freedom requires you to stop calling bondage normal. The cycle is ending, if you are willing to let me break what you've been tolerating. Hear me with tenderness, because this message touches the softest part of your soul. You've been walking around numb, and I'm trying to wake your heart again. The numbness didn't happen overnight. It formed slowly, through disappointments that wore you down, heartbreaks that left you guarded, stress that never let up, responsibilities that grew heavier, and emotions you didn't have the capacity to process. You didn't choose numbness. Numbness chose you when your heart decided it could no longer handle the weight of feeling everything so deeply. You've been moving through life on autopilot, doing what needs to be done, showing up where you're expected, speaking when you must, smiling when you're supposed to, but on the inside, something feels muted, quiet, disconnected. It's not that you don't care, it's that you're tired. Tired of hoping, tired of hurting, tired of starting over, tired of feeling disappointed, tired of giving more than you receive, tired of fighting battles no one sees, tired of pretending you're okay when you're not. And so your heart chose numbness as a form of survival. But hear me, numbness is not living. Numbness is not healing. Numbness is not peace. Numbness is the soul's cry for revival. And I am calling your heart back to life, gently, patiently, lovingly. You may think you're protecting yourself by staying numb, but numbness also blocks joy, connection, peace, clarity, intimacy, and spiritual sensitivity. Numbness keeps you from hurting, but it also keeps you from healing. I am reaching into the places where you stopped feeling. I am touching the areas where your heart went quiet. I am breathing life into the emotions you buried. I am restoring sensitivity where pain hardened you. I am reviving hope where disappointment silenced you. You don't need to force it. You only need to allow me in. I won't overwhelm you, I will awaken you. Slowly, tenderly, softly. You were never meant to live with a numb heart. You were meant to feel again, safely, deeply, fully. And I am waking you back to life. Hear this as the final truth in this movement of awakening. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Everything you have been walking through, everything you've been feeling, everything I've been confronting in you, everything I've been removing, everything I've been reviewing, it had not been to harm you but to strengthen you. You've mistaken pressure for punishment, discomfort for disappointment, pruning for rejection, and spiritual stretching for abandonment. But I have not been punishing you. I have been preparing you for the future you keep praying about. Preparation rarely feels gentle. Preparation often feels like loss, like change, like exposure, like stretching, like correction, like discipline. But preparation is love in motion. It is me shaping you into the version of yourself that can carry the weight of your calling, steward the blessing that's coming, withstand the battles ahead, and walk in the authority you were created for. If I allowed you to stay the same, you would not be able to step into the next season without breaking under its weight. But I am building you, molding you, fortifying you, refining you, because what I have planned for you requires strength you haven't had before. You've been asking, why is this happening? But the real question is, what is this shaping me into? Everything you've endured has purpose. Every unexplainable moment, every heavy season, every tear, every correction, every shift, every awakening. You are being prepared, not punished. And when the season shifts, when the breakthrough comes, when the clarity arrives, when the blessings unfold, you will understand that everything I walked you through was love disguised as discipline, protection disguised as discomfort, and preparation disguised as pressure. You are not being punished. You are being prepared for. Amen.